Well, hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Charlie Bigham's Big Banquet, live from the Wells Food Festival. My name is Will Lyons, and I'll be your cook-along. I will be your host for this evening's cook-along. And joining me is the great Rich Taunt.
I don't know quite about great, Will, but I think we are going to have a great night, certainly. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is ready and prepared for the next 3 hours of cooking delights. Perhaps a bit of chaos, Will, do you think? A little bit?
I think it's going to be fast, frenetic. It could well be dangerous in parts. It will certainly be there'll certainly be chaos. But above all, though, I think it's going to be delicious because I've cooked through all these recipes and they are absolutely superb. And I'm not just saying that; they really did surprise me. So we're going on our very own culinary journey tonight. We start off with some of the greatest chefs in the world. We start off with the great Thomasina Myers, who's going to be cooking a bruschetta. Then we're flying down to the southern shores of India for a Kerala-inspired sea bass by the great Vivek Singh of the Cinnamon Club. And then we head back to Europe for one of my favorite chefs, Theo Randall, who has cooked and prepared, and you will be cooking and preparing, a crowd pleaser. Wonderful sort of succulent chicken from inspired by Italy. Before we head where else? To the warmer climes of Malaysia for our pudding, pinkum, sweet Malaysian mess, which is very sweet indeed. It is great. Now, if you are cooking along with us, there are a few things that hopefully you will have prepared in advance. It is quite complicated, but do bear with it. If you haven't had a chance, then Rich is going to give you a few pointers now to get a head start. And well, for all of those who have done the prep, I would just pull up a chair, pour yourself a glass of wine, sit back and relax. I know I have. Cheers.
Cheers.
Rich, what pointers can you?
A couple of pointers to get us going. So hopefully people will have found within their packs a lovely sheet like this, just in terms of the prep to do ahead of this evening. So there's a few things on there we hope you've got in place already. The most important things at this point, just to remember, are your sea bass or cauliflower for vegetarians, and your chicken or celeriac for vegetarians are marinating. That's the main thing you need to make sure you've done. But actually, no, number one, glass of wine.
Glass of wine, absolutely.
Number two, make sure you've got your sea bass / cauliflower, chicken / celeriac marinating, because that will put you in very good stead when we get to those courses later on. The blanching of the components. It's always nice to be able to say blanching of components early in any evening for the salata later on will also help when we're cooking along with Theo later. You may also want, and Will, you're saying you've already cooked a number of these. Top tips, probably get everything out. Yeah,
so my top tip is get everything out of all the packets. Use all the saucers, bowls and plates you have in your cupboards, like you're on a sort of 1980s cookery show, because it is quite complicated. It's really nice to have everything out in front of you. And the other thing is, because I'm half blind, do please take a very careful look at the quantities, because I made a few mistakes when I was doing these, and it's quite easy to do, actually.
I think if you get through this evening without your kitchen resembling a bomb site, without making a single miscalculation along the way, you've done remarkably well. It's going to, I think, be quite a challenge this evening.
Yeah, I think if you're cooking all 4 or 5 dishes, it's going to be really good fun. But these cook-alongs are great fun. Look, it's Saturday night. We've got some of the world's greatest chefs with us. We've got Rich. We've got Charlie. It's going to be fantastic. But look, here's a reminder. We are part of the Charlie Bigham's Wells Food Festival, but we're also raising money for a wonderful charity, Chefs in Schools. If you don't know them, Chefs in Schools is a fantastic charity who deliver tasty, healthy, inexpensive, generation-powering, mind-opening, society-changing food in schools. But before we get started with the cooking for the evening, we're going to hear a little bit more about Chefs in Schools from the people who can say it a lot better than me.
Nobody gives a sausage about why at school. Nah, nothing. Everybody thinks the whole school meals were fixed ages ago. But so many school lunches are still stuck in the turkey dinosaur age. This is the turkey dinosaur age. Yeah, and it's feeding unhealthy futures. No. Which is not good for me, if I'm being honest, or me. And me. Look, what? Look, we're doing a movie. So now these people called chefs in schools
give a sausage.
Yeah. And want you
To give a sausage too.
to put proper meals and lunch plates across the country. All across the country. Because feeding us well at school
Feeds a better future.
That's why kids like us need chefs in schools.
Cut.
Is it lunchtime yet? Hungry work, that.
Oh, what a fantastic charity. And we're delighted to be raising money for them tonight. And personally, I will be banging on about them all night, because you'll see a link to donate to Chefs in Schools in the Q&A box. And if you would like to show your support during the night, I think it's a fantastic charity to support, and we would be very much appreciative of that. Well, let's head to the man who needs no introduction, the great man who it is, Charlie Bigham, who's kept us all, I think, fed during the pandemic, certainly kept my household and family fed on Friday and Saturday nights with his delicious pies. Charlie, how are you?
Good evening. How lovely to join you and to join everyone this evening. I've just been it was very useful having those tips a moment ago, Will, because I'd forgotten to do the pre-marinating, of course. So I just was slipped off into the corner and just marinated. I've marinated now. My sea bass fillets are marinating nicely, and in a second I'm going to be butterflying those chicken breasts and getting those into a marinade as well.
Now, Charlie, I see you're down the world. Do you have the most important thing? Do you have a glass of wine with you?
Well, do you know, I don't yet.
Come on, Charlie, come on.
I'm going to have to find that. Hopefully that's going to appear. I'm going to rustle that up in a minute.
Tell us a bit about the charity, though, and why you sort of inspired to support. I mean, it's obvious it's such a fantastic charity, but.
Yeah, well, obviously we have just heard from the real experts on the charity, but I think it is Chefs in Schools is an amazing charity, and we're so proud to support it. It's so important, that people learn about. I think food is just one of what life's great pleasures and great joys, and obviously it's much more than that, because it sustains us and keeps us alive. And if you are careful what you eat, it's incredibly good for the body, obviously, and the soul too. So chef kind of giving kids an early start in life, appreciating food and appreciating cooking is an extraordinary thing to do. And I've spent some time in Hackney, in the Hackney School of Food, which is part of Chefs in Schools, and they've got an amazing setup there, and it's absolutely brilliant what they do. So we're just very proud and delighted to support it. And I hope that this evening we're going to raise lots of money for it.
I think you're absolutely right. I love that idea of you exposing children to the smells in the kitchen, because I did the cook along with my 8-year-old, and he could smell everything, and it sort of incites it all goes in. I mean, they're like sponges at that age, and then it sparks their imagination. And as you said, diet is so important.
Charlie, and you're going to be cooking along. I think you're there with Ping in the quarry. You're attempting everything tonight.
Yes, I'm much looking forward to it. I'm as you've already heard, I'm perhaps a little bit less organised than I should be, but I know it's going to be a great feast this evening. And I think probably a good place to start is just to say a massive thank you to our 4 amazing chefs who are joining us tonight.
I think that's so.
They are joining us. They're all giving up their time for free because they believe in Chefs in Schools, and so they're doing their bit. So thank you very much in advance to Tommy, Vivek, Theo, and Ping, who's here with me. It's going to be a really good evening. I'm really looking forward to it.
Charlie, thank you. And we should say thank you, Charlie, just for that very deliberate forgetting of your marinating, just to put everyone else at ease, really.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of my role. Part of my role this evening is not to read things too carefully, so I can make a few mistakes and actually everybody at home, please don't worry if you make the odd mistake, if things go slightly awry. This is our second year of doing it. We had a lot of fun last year. We know there were a few mistakes last year made by lots of people, including me. But don't worry about that. That's all part of the fun. And I hope everyone has a fantastic evening.
Charlie, lovely. Thank you very much. And I think we're going to come back to you time and again through the evening. So possibly, Charlie, if you can just give a little tally of how many mistakes you're making, then we can check in.
Okay. Well, so far I'm behind on the marinating.
Yeah, great.
Also, Charlie, you will need a washer-upper.
That's.
I mean, if you're at home, you will need to wash pots in between all the courses.
Yes. Yes. I might be. You might see me, rushing off stage right to do some washing up.
That's a side.
Charlie, thank you very much indeed. Should we talk a bit about how people can get involved tonight?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you may have felt like you had some treasure arrive when you got your whole box of stuff. I should say that also there's going to be a small number of people, 3 very lucky winners, who inside those boxes will have got a golden ticket with 10 Charlie Bigham's Meals for 2 vouchers, as well as a further voucher from the Cookaway, our recipe box partner for the Banquet, who create world cuisine recipe boxes to enjoy at home. So if you are one of those 3 with your golden ticket, congratulations to you. Sadly, that wasn't me. Was that you, Will?
No, I mean, it was a bit like Willy Wonka, wasn't it? And I was the, but we're here together. I won the platinum ticket.
The platinum ticket. Well, that's very lovely to know. So even if you're not a gold ticket winner, there's ways to get involved tonight. 3 ways, which you'll have just seen pop up on your screen and may pop up on your screen again in just a moment. But to say, if you've got any questions at any point during today, during this evening, please use that Zoom Q&A feature, which should be at the bottom of your screen. If you'd like to fire questions at our chefs, you're welcome to do that. Or if you'd like to let us know why you're joining, it might be for a special occasion, or if you simply want to say hello, or we're going to be talking a bit about wine, aren't we? Well, in just a bit. If you've got questions about wine, please do use the Zoom Q&A feature. But, and possibly most importantly, we really want to see how you're getting on at home. There are literally, you are joining part of a community of hundreds of people cooking along all over the country. And we'd love to see how you're getting on. So please do use Instagram. Not too late to set up an account. Please do use Instagram with the hashtag Bigham's Banquet. Bigham's Banquet is the hashtag. I think you've already been on.
Yes, I don't think I put the hashtag on. I'll have to do that now. Find me on Instagram, because I did, as I said, I had prepared all these. Well, I cooked long earlier.
Lovely. We are also going to be having a series of very short polls just to check in, just to see how you are getting on. Should we have our first one now?
Yeah, why not? Yeah,
why not? So, how ready are you for what lies ahead tonight? So 4 options for you, 4 options. I was born ready. Ready as I'll ever be. Somewhat ready. Don't test me. Or the wine's open. That's me done. We're going to give you just a few moments for that. There's going to be a number of rapid polls, but they are going to be rapid. So we'll give you another, let's say 12, 13 seconds, maybe. Those numbers are going up very quickly. We'll share those results back in just a moment.
I think wine's coming last there.
We will see. We'll see the anticipation building. So let's close that poll now. Thank you very much. And let's share those results. So there we go. Look, born ready. Top
born
of
ready.
The pops.
Wow.
Well done, everyone.
I wonder how many people will be feeling that at the end of the night, though. Because
let's not be too pessimistic.
Right? It's great. I love these cook-alongs. They're so frenetic. They're fantastic.
So great stuff. Really pleased. And if that is you in that final category, wine's open. Well, we're delighted that you are joining this evening. And the other thing we're going to be doing. And look, Charlie's already very generously made a mistake just to sort of exemplify the feeling for tonight, is we're going to be playing a bit of banquet bingo tonight. So just, there may be some things which don't entirely go to plan. So if you want to play along at home to some of the things which may or may not go quite as planned, join us in Banquet Bingo. So those options or those things which may happen along the way, see if you can tick these off. So posted a picture of your masterpiece. Will your smoke alarm go off? Will you spill something? Will you manage to use every pan in the kitchen?
Yes.
I certainly did when I was trying some of these. Did you complete all 4? Did you get the kids to do the washing up? Top tip, if you can. Do you have pets wanting to get involved, or are you one of those golden ticket winners? So we're going to come back to these, but keep an eye, lodge those in your memory. Do let us know how you do with those. Use the Q&A box to shout bingo when you manage to tick all of them off.
Rich, you haven't got the one my one, which is I managed to destroy my blender.
This is quite remarkable. You must tell the story. How did you destroy your blender?
Well, I might tell it a bit later on because
we'll come back.
Yeah, because I don't want to put anybody off actually. But anyway, I poured in boiling sunflower oil, and it was quite a thing actually. Anyway,
we'll come back to that. So if you manage to destroy your blender, then you're already in good company. Will.
Well, for those of you who don't know me, as you know, my name is Will Lyons, and I write the wine column for the Sunday Times. That's a day job. I'm also vice president of the Sunday Times Wine Club. So we thought it'd be quite fun to do some wine pairings tonight. So I'll be on hand. And by the way, I'm very happy to answer any of your wine-related questions in the Zoom Q&A. Would that be right?
Yep.
But I have tried out all these recipes, and I was trialing them to a number of different wines. So I'm going to be giving some very general and broad wine pairing advice, just to get the sort of flavors and styles that I think show best with these 4 delicious recipes that we are going to create tonight. And with no further ado, let's start our first one. We've got Thomasina Myers. Tommy. Now, Tommy, Hi. Just before we start, I'm going to introduce you. You are familiar to us all after winning MasterChef, of course. You now have the fantastic Oaxaca in Covent Garden. I think you've got more than a dozen sort of establishments, and it's Mexican-inspired street food. But more importantly, Tommy, you also help us set up our charity partner, Chefs in Schools, in 2017, and you continue to support the charity as a trustee. That's fantastic. Tell us what you're cooking for us tonight and what we're all going to cook along.
Well, I'm going to start the bedrock of, there are 2 bedrocks of this recipe. One is this incredible salsa called Salsa Matcha, which is from Ensenada, which is in Baja California, which is that long, skinny strip down Mexico. It's the north part. Baja California is the top 600 kilometers, and Baja California Sur is the bottom 600 kilometers. So we're going to the top, which is really foodie. Lots of vineyards, microbreweries, biodynamic farms, amazing produce. And this salsa, I learned from an amazing woman called Sabina Garense. She's got this incredible street food stand. She puts it on sea urchin tostadas and crab tostadas, and it's really delicious. I think you guys have got some Urfa chili flakes, which you can get easily in the supermarkets. I'm also showing you, have you got this camera on too? Can you see 2 cameras?
Yeah.
Just wondering if you've got, is this one of my other cameras working?
No,
look, there we are. Great. Okay, so then we can see everything. Great, that's good. So I've got various chilies. So these chilies are chili de árbol. Now these are really, really easy to buy now on the internet or in kind of good supermarkets. That's a chili de árbol. That has a really lovely grassy, quite dry heat. It's really delicious. It's perfect for the salsa if you want to know more about Mexican food. And this is a cascabel. So this is a lovely chili that's got lovely mild heat. It's fruity in flavor. So with this salsa, you can throw in some different chilies. You don't just have to do the Urfa. We're just doing because quite easy to get hold of. These are some other Mexican chilies you might want to use. Okay. Now we're also going to be doing some lovely seasonal veg. So I picked the last of my courgettes from the garden just now. The courgette flower still going. So you can char grill courgettes. You can char grill sweet corn for this. Purple sprouting broccoli would be good in the autumn. I've got some leeks here, which you could kind of slice in half and put in a bain marie. And then we've got just the last of the runner beans. So we're going to char grill those. And that is going to go on our bruschetta toast for our starter.
So we're off camera.
So we're going to make the salsa matcha first. Are we ready for that?
Let's go, Tommy. Fantastic. We're looking forward
Okay,
to it.
great. And by the way, Chefs in Schools, thoroughly brilliant charity. Really, really good. So the first thing for everyone to do is to get their sesame seeds going, because we're going to toast those separately. So if you put them on a low heat, we just want to gently, gently toast them. So I'm just putting those on there. You can't see that, Bob, but okay. Meanwhile, I've got some vegetable oil going on here, which is great. Now, the other ingredient you could put in salsa matcha, I think because of allergies, we've just got sesame seeds, but you can also use nuts. So peanuts are the classic ingredient for this, because something about the flavor of peanuts and seafood's really good. So I'm just going to toast a few peanuts in my oil while we're going. And then what we're going to do, we've got the sesame seeds on. We're going to gently, gently brown those. How long have I got, by the way? Have I got about 20 minutes? I tend to talk a lot.
You've got 4 hours, Tommy. Just take your time. Just 4 or 5 hours. Is that okay?
Great.
or
I've got some
15
sourdough. Don't want to show off, but that's my loaf from yesterday. So I'm going to cut a piece of that for our starter. I think sourdough, that's a good example of like good ingredients. You know, you want good bread that's got ingredients. Oh my God, the puppy. I've just got to let the puppy in. Come on, puppy. Come on, in you go. Okay, the puppy's on board now. He tends to follow me around a lot. So Chippy, do you want to come say hi to everyone? No, he's gone. Okay. So I'm trying to keep the back of my kitchen door shut, because last year my fire alarm went off and caused havoc. So trying not to have a repeat of that. I like to think that was an homage to my fire alarm going off, your little question and answer session. So I've got my sesame seeds on there, and I've got a heavy char grill on. Can you see? I'm going to just show you with my camera. Got a lovely char grill on there. Now this is a really good bit of kit. I use this all the time. Just put it over my gas flame, and it's just brilliant. And that's the thing, if anything, that's going to put off my fire alarm. So there we are. Got that going. So I've got my vegetable oils on kind of medium, and my sesame seeds are on medium, gently toasting to bring out their flavor and their oils. And Chippy's making himself known. So while the sesame seeds are toasting, we could prep our lovely runner beans. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to top and tail them. And there we are. Top and tail. Very easy. Oh, Chippy, you're jealous, aren't you? Don't say hello to everyone. Okay, I'm going to show you Chippy. Come on, Chippy. There's Chippy, newest member of the family. Very jealous. Wants to be having some fun too. There we are. Off you down. I think he's actually asking for supper. So I've got my sesame seeds going. Oh, Chippy. Shush, shush, shush. Right. So our runner beans, and we're just going to have to get my husband to do something about this. I'm going to actually chop them in half, because I want to put a little bit of olive oil on them. Oh, Chippy, stop. Okay. Chippy, you're not supposed to be here. This is absolutely classic. This is going to happen. Chippy, I don't have any dog treats. Okay, come on, have some dog treats. Where's my husband? Come on, Chippy. There we are. Have some dog treats. Go on. There we are. Oh, look, can you take Chippy? Yeah. Okay, someone's come to get Chippy. That's good. Okay. How are we still? Are we still there?
Tommy,
the dogs or children is what they say.
Tommy, you paid reference to the bingo card, which about your smoke alarm, but you've already ticked one off. Pets getting involved in the action was part of the bingo card.
Getting involved. He loves food.
Congratulations.
He's basically a scavenger by nature. So there we are. Look, I've got my beans here. So you just want a tiny bit of olive oil on your beans, just to kind of give them a bit of help in the char grill. I'm going to season them with some pepper and some salt. Now this Chefs in Schools it's absolutely brilliant. The charity, I'm so pleased you guys are supporting it, because it is absolutely extraordinary. For 75 pence a day, you can feed kids really incredible nutritious food. And it's just, when you think that a third of kids leave primary school obese, we spend £6 billion on the NHS on obesity related disease, all that kind of stuff. And then this charity has gone into school kitchens and shown how possible it is to turn school food around. The real thing we need to do is really shout at the Department of Education, because they're just not that interested in school food. And it's so important for kids, so important for kids. So there's the Give a Sausage campaign, which we launched this week, is calling for a few things. One, the threshold for free school meals is £7,500. That means if your joint income is £8,000, you no longer qualify for a free school meal. Seems a bit nuts. So we're campaigning to go bring that up to 20,000. And then basically just asking the Department of Education to make sure the schools just, adhere to the school food standards. There are standards out there. The schools just aren't paying much attention. A lot of them are, obviously, a lot of good schools. Anyway, it's amazing what kids will yum up and eat when they're given good food. I think this idea of dumbing down to kids is just not good. So there's my bit about Chefs in Schools. It's a fantastic charity. When you see the kids eating all this incredible food, that's just 75 pence a day, it is really inspiring. So I've got my sesame seeds here, they're nicely toasted. Now it's important to blend your sesame seeds before anything else, because otherwise they won't grind down. And you want to grind them down because you want all that flavour of them to go into your oil. So there we are. My sesame seeds are there. Charlie, are your sesame seeds toasted? Hopefully, probably on mute. And I'm just going to whiz them up now. I've got them in my upright food blender. This is a Vitamix. I'm not paid by them, but it's a very good food processor though. And we're just going to go. And that's kind of all we need to do. That's kind of, they're good. Now I've cheated. I've got a few peanuts here too, which is cheating. It's so frustrating for you guys. I didn't mean to be annoying. But I have got a few peanuts, which I'm also going to throw in, which you can add. You can have hazelnuts, you can do almonds, but just add to the flavour of your matcha. So those are going to go in there too. Now we've done the sesame seeds, which is good. We've got our oil is on medium. I hope for your oil is, don't go too hot because you don't want to burn either the chilies or the garlic. So I think what we'll do next is we'll do the garlic. So I need a head of garlic. Where's my garlic? Here we are. Got some garlic here. And we'll just pull that apart. Yeah, doesn't seem very good. Okay, that's my head. So we're going to do, I think it's about 3 or 4 cloves in here. Actually, that's entirely. And there we are. So I've got 3 fat cloves of garlic here. So just bash them to release the skin really easily. And I don't have a gubbins bowl actually. Here we are. Let's use that as a gubbins bowl. Do that there. Okay, always have a gubbins bowl on your work surface. That's what John Terray taught me. So I've got one really, really lovely fat clove of garlic there. And then we've got another here. And we're going to put them into the oil. So we're going to gently toast the garlic and bring out all its nutty sweetness, deliciousness. Now you do not want to burn the garlic, because if you burn it, it's going to go bitter. So we're just going to gently toast this. There we are. Okay, so I've got basically the equivalent. I mean, I guess if you had a standard garlic clove from the supermarket, that might almost be a head. But if you can find nice garlic from a market, they tend to be bigger. So I'm going to throw those into my oil. Okay, and that's just going to sizzle there for a little bit. And while that's sizzling, I'm just going to shake out the seeds from my cascabel chilies. You guys have got Eartha chilies, but the amazing things about chilies, there are 200 varieties in Mexico. They all have different flavors. So it's not about heat, it's about taste. So these cascabel I'm going to put into my salsa matcha for flavor. They're very, very mild. And then the chili de arbol, I'm going to put into heat. The Eartha, what I like about the Eartha chili is it's got that kind of rounded sweet flavor plus a bit of heat. So, but we're going to put those in last. First of all, doing the garlic. Now my vegetable is a little bit hot, so I'm going to turn it back down to 5. You don't want to burn. So that garlic is nicely toasting away. And there we are. So once that is kind of lightly brown, we're going to just take it out. Can you see there? Nice and brown. Whoops, put some back in. And it's going to go into my Magimix. I mean, my Vitamix, my blender. There we are. And I've got to scoop out these bits too. There we are. Don't want to leave any remnants. So I'll go bitter. There we are. Okay. Right. Oh my God. Now, I think because you've got flakes, it's going to be hard to get all the flakes out. So you might want to turn your oil off now because you don't want to burn your chili flakes. If you burn chilies, they go bitter. So if you're at home now, turn off your heat from your oil. You've toasted your garlic. I'm going to throw my chilies in. So I've got about 15 grams of chili de arbol, about 12 grams of cascabel. You've got your eartha chili flakes. I'm going to put them in. We're going to gently toast them and scoop them around. And you might be able to smell incredible, lovely, incredible smells coming out. When these chilies get toasted, all their flavor is released. And we don't want to do them any more than that because they will burn. And then take off your lid and throw them in. Okay, so in they go, these chilies. Now, there we are. This matcha can go on anything. My go-to chili oil. You can have it with all sorts of things. Okay, so there we are. Now, we're going to have a little bit, I'm going to turn that's off. I'm going to put a little bit of cold vegetable oil in my blender to help it process. If we put hot oil in there, the garlic and the chilies are going to keep on cooking. We're going to burn it. We don't want to do that. So we're just going to go like that, and we're going to pulse. Oh, can anyone smell that? That's smelling delicious. Now we want to season. You always want to season your oils. So I'm going to put in a good teaspoon of sea salt there. You really do need to season chilies to get out their flavor. And where is and then a pinch of sugar. I've got some brown sugar here. I probably use caster sugar, so I forgot to get any out. So I've just got some brown sugar. So I'm going to put half a teaspoon of brown sugar in there. And cider vinegar. I'm actually using this. This is the most delicious apple cider vinegar. If anyone's never tried it, it tastes almost like balsamic vinegar. Really delicious, full of flavor. And we're going to just put a squizzle in there, and that's going to give a lovely kind of piquancy to the oil. And that's essentially, I'm going to whiz it a tiny bit more. And then we're going to leave that while we get on with our toasts and our beans. So
Tommy,
yeah?
just running. So we've got five minutes. Five minutes to go.
Perfect. We can easily do that in 5 minutes. So now we've got the beans. Okay, we're putting them on the char grill. This is when I'm going to try and not set fire the char grill. There we are. I'm going to turn that up. So the beans are on. The beans will take 3 to 4 minutes. I'm going to put my toast on at the same time. So here's my sourdough. And we're going to do a slice of that. And that's going to go on. At the same time, get some lovely char marks. There we are. Can you see that? Move my camera. I'm going to be my own cameraman. There we are. Lovely. That's all done. Perfect. There we are. Great. And my bread's out of the way. So now that ricotta. So I've been draining my ricotta to get all the liquid out. Just put it through a sieve. And then you pop it into the bowl. And we want some more garlic. Now, where's my other garlic? Okay, more garlic. Use all my garlic. So we're going to crush a very small clove of garlic. I'm going to put some sea salt on my board, and I'm just going to crush it with my knife. And we're going to put the garlic into the ricotta. So hopefully you're all eating together. take out that green inner shoot because that will be bitter. And that is going to go into our ricotta. We've also got some lemon zest to go in. There's a lemon. And so do you guys like your chilies?
Love chilies.
Love chilies.
Absolutely. And the older I get, the more I think your palate changes. I think as the years go by, you actually become to sort of.
My poor children get quite a lot of chilies in their diet.
And how do they get on with that? Because my little boy, he doesn't like chilies at all, anything hot or spicy.
Well, I think it's amazing in Mexico City when you go and visit the kids, they've got such a high tolerance for chilies. I just think the more you eat them, the more. So I'm putting in the zest of a whole lemon and the juice of a half in my ricotta. And where's my spoon? I've got a lovely spoon here. So I'm also, this is my best olive oil, okay? So this is what you reserve a really good olive oil for all this lovely flavor. So we've got salt. Did I season that? Yeah, I seasoned the garlic and pepper. There we are. And that's this ricotta now. We've got garlic, lemon zest. You could put some thyme in, which would be delicious as well. And just look how delicious this is going to be. So ricotta is very like a cheese called requesón in Mexico. So I use it quite a lot in my cooking. You know, to these courgette flowers which grow all over Mexico. The courgette is actually from Mexico. Stuff that with courgette, with requesón and honey and chipotle and all sorts of delicious things. I'm finding my tongs now. Just going to turn my beans, and they're looking nice and charred. I hope everyone else's are nice and charred. Now these will be any second now. I'm just going to whack that up, get some grill marks going. I was so worried about setting off my alarm that I put it on quite low. So if you've got a char grill, whack it up. So while those are finishing grilling, I'm going to finish off the chili oil. So I'm now going to pour the rest of this oil in, which has cooled down. And I'm going to give one last blitz to my chili oil. So there we are. Actually, I'm going to use a thing so I don't burn my hand. If you haven't got a top to your blender. Okay, so that is done, and that is smelling absolutely delicious. And I am just going to taste it. Always good to taste the chili oil just to check the seasoning, and hopefully it shouldn't be too spicy. Oh, delicious. I'm going to add a tiny bit more cider vinegar in, maybe a pinch more salt, but that is tasting really, really good. Okay, so now we've got our toast. My God, I need a plate. Got a plate up this. Just going to get a plate, guys. Don't go anywhere.
Well, I have to say at this stage, I'd like to admit that I did actually burn the garlic, and I overdid the oil. So I put boiling oil into my blender, which has subsequently destroyed it. I later found out when I attempted Vivek's delicious sea bream recipe.
I'm sorry about your blender.
Don't worry. And I did actually stayed the spatula. No, it was totally my fault because I didn't read the measurements properly. But I am worried that the flavor of mine was slightly altered because I did this, because I burnt the garlic. But it was.
I was a little bit worried because last year I did set the entire fire alarm off. There was smoke everywhere, and we had to cut back to Charlie in his kitchen. So I put my char grills quite low, but you should have really lovely char marks all across your toast.
Yeah.
I've got very faint ones. Now, don't be shy with olive oil. It's very good for gut bacteria and microbiomes, and you should just pretty much drink it. It's so good for you. If you want to, you can add extra garlic onto the toast, but you probably don't need it because we've got lots of lovely garlic in the ricotta. So we're going to squidge some lovely ricotta here. Now, this is something, as I said, you can have with any seasonal vegetable. You can have it all year round. And the chili oil, you can use on everything. It's so delicious. Experiment with the different chilies. They're really easy to find online. Cool Chili Company, Mex Grocer, all these wonderful kind of places you can stock. Now I'm just going to put my knife through the beans just because it's going to make them a little bit easier to eat if they're in little bits. Now what you could do is add a little bit more lemon zest to this. If I've got my zester, lost it. I need a child. Sometimes I have my children helping my demo. No, I've lost my zester. We're not going to do that. But we have got this incredible chili oil. And this chili oil, I just drink it almost. You can put it on eggs. Fried eggs is amazing. In stir fries. And it is just wonderful. I hope yours is smelling as good as mine. Experiment with different nuts. Hazelnuts, peanuts, almonds, as well as the sesame. Must have sesame though. Very important ingredient. And that is, you know, you can have a bit of zest on too. But that essentially is a very simple, very seasonal, delicious dish. And this is the type of thing you could eat in a very modern cantina in Mexico. Homage to the wonderful biodiversity, one of the most biodiverse countries in the world. Mega biodiverse, they say, with that incredible salsa matcha. Really hope you enjoy it.
Oh,
No, that's absolutely superb. And thank you for your pet as well. I was just wondering about the oil. How long will that keep? What once you prepared it? Because I've got a.
So this oil should keep, basically, it could keep, because the garlic's cooked, it's not raw, so it should keep, you know, for a few months easily. I don't normally, it doesn't normally last a few months in alcohol.
No, that's what I thought, because I've got a little jug of it in the kitchen, and I thought that would keep all through the autumn, actually. Absolutely superb. And also, I think this is a wonderful lunch, isn't it? You know, just if you're having a snacky lunch at home.
It's a perfect thing if you're, or you know, eggs in the morning, a little drizzle of chili oil, or, you know, stir fry, a little drizzle of chili, I mean, on anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tommy, thank you so much. What a gorgeous dish. I'm sure everyone is now tucking in wherever they are across the country.
With the delicious glass of wine.
And there's probably a dog nipping at their heels too. Tommy, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you much. It looks delicious. Well, just on the wine, I suppose.
Wine pairing time, I think. Well,
I was thinking when I first thought about the prosciutto, I just had it in my mind's eye that you'd have lots of chopped tomatoes and it would be quite spicy. And I was thinking the natural wine you would pair with that would be an aromatic, crisp white wine. Say something from New Zealand. A New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc would be brilliant. But actually, once I tried it, that ricotta gives it that lovely creamy texture. And if you're trying this at home, you might, there's quite a sort of savory element to it as well. So I thought it could go well with, you know, a sort of a white that's seen a bit of oak, like an oak Chablis. You could get a dry Chenin Blanc from the Loire Valley or South Africa, something that's crisp but not overly aromatic. A very good pairing would be the grape variety. Look out for the grape variety, Grüne Veltliner from Austria. And that's, I think it's been described as Chardonnay with a kick. And it has that, well, it can smell of anything from sort of wet hay to chamomile to grass. But it has a slight pepperiness, which I think will marry really well with the flavors there. And of course, if you're, you know, if you love Italy, try a dry Soave, the Chablis of Italy. Also, you could pair this if it's a Saturday lunchtime treat. You could pair it with a glass of bubbles. Something like a Cava has that sort of earthiness. And well, we are living through the great English wine boom of the 21st century. So an English sparkling wine from Sussex or Hampshire has that lovely acidity that just picks you up. And then it's sort of, I think it would marry quite well with that sort of creamy Rioja.
Fantastic. So quite a few things you could pair this
with. I like to keep it broad.
Well, so a glass of something with alcohol content in probably sounds about right. The English sparkling wine, I imagine lots of people will have got into that. But if they haven't, where would you start? Sort of a particular bottle you'd recommend?
Well, as I said, we are living through the great English wine boom of the 21st century. We now have, I think we have more wineries in the Napa Valley. We produce on a good year about 15 million bottles. The big question, the thing I always get asked about is, you know, the price. It can be quite high in price. I would say though, what's interesting, I think we're now sort of in the third stage of English wine. The first stage being, you know, sort of hobby farmers and very small production. Second stage was we can make world-class sparkling wine. Estates such as Harrow and Hope in Buckinghamshire, Nyetimber, they are the sort of leaders. Rathfinny in Sussex. But you might like to try some of the still wines. So Bacchus is the great variety that we grow in England. And it has a sort of flavor profile, a bit like a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. So it's very aromatic, but it has that sort of Englishness about it, which is sort of elderflower, cucumber. When I say peppery, it's not to everyone's liking, but if you have a Bacchus, I think Chapel Down do a very good one that's widely available, and pair it with anything like sort of grilled prawns would be delicious. Sorry, I'm getting carried away. Can I just say, do tell us what you are drinking?
Yes.
Hashtag Bigham's Banquet. Is that right? I'd love to know.
Lovely. Will, do we have any shout outs?
Yeah, we do. I was going to put my glasses on. So a shout out from Katie Singer to Scott Bennett. Happy birthday. You're cooking along tonight. I hope it's going well. I hope you got some birthday cake as well. Michelle's been in touch to say, we are doing this as a wedding present for Sally and Dan, who were married a couple of weeks ago. Oh, wonderful. Congratulations. Here's to you. Very excited.
Cheers.
I hope you've got a glass of something cool, crisp and sparkling to celebrate. And another bingo from Storyteller on Instagram. They're the lucky winner of the golden ticket.
Oh, one of our golden tickets has been found. Congratulations. Dorothy also asking just how many people are cooking along. Over 500 tonight, wow. Dorothy, in all parts of the country. And if you're enjoying this and thinking, oh, you know, am I going to be able to watch it again? Just to say that there will be a recording on our YouTube channel, which we will be sending round next week. So if you are wanting to do some bits, catch up with other bits later, there will be a recording of that. Should we remind people how to get involved again?
We should actually.
Well, just because this is a chance for us to hear from amazing chefs, but also please do get in touch. So those ways to do that again are the Zoom Q&A is sitting there waiting for your questions. Please do send those through about the food, for the chefs, for Will on wine.
Any wine questions? Happy to answer them.
Please do send those through. Also, shout outs. Do use it for those. But particularly, do get on Instagram if you can. Use the hashtag Bigham's Banquet. Show us what you're creating. We'd love to see. But also, you can use that as a way of showing us what you're drinking this evening, whether that is a fine glass of Nye Timber or a mug of Foster's. Either is well, possibly not even, but for the occasion.
No, I would say there is pleasure to be found in any beverage. And I am not anyone. I'm certainly not a wine snob, so it doesn't matter. You can find pleasure in a £5 bottle of wine or a £500 bottle of wine. It's all about context and all about your taste as well.
We might come back to your top tips for £5 bottles of wine. Not that I'm the sort of person who'd be interested in £5 bottles of wine. Yes, please. But let's come back to that later on. Banquet bingo. So we've already had a golden ticket. Congratulations. We've already had Tommy's pet wanting to get involved in the action. If you've had any of these others ticked off already, let us know so we can tick it off this sheet, and then we will be coming to you at a point later, or we'll be coming back to this board later on. Will, again, why are we doing this?
Well, I said I would be banging on about this all night, and I will be. We hope you enjoyed your starter, and thank you so much, Tommy, for talking us through that. And as I said, Tommy is also trustee of our wonderful charity, Chefs in Schools. Now, Chefs in Schools not only delivers a nutritious food in schools, but they also develop training for schools, campaign to end child food poverty, and work with chefs to educate kids about food. You'll be sharing some of your creations on Instagram using Bigham's Banquet. But we'll be taking a look at these a bit later. But first, let's have a look at some of the fantastic meals that Chefs in Schools have been providing to school children across the country. Look at that.
This is look at this fantastic food. A wonderful charity.
Yeah, and if you are inspired, do support them tonight. Actually,
how can people support them? Will, is there a link in the?
There's a donations page in the Q&A box, and every little. Will we have a total tonight?
We can come back on that. Certainly, if it's substantial, I think we can certainly have a total. But let's do that. So there should be a link just in that box, in the Q&A box. Please do donate.
Wonderful.
Well,
I hope you're all ready because we're now going to the southern shores of India for Vivek's wonderful sea bass. Vivek, are you with us? And now that needs
I am indeed. I am.
no introduction, founder of the Cinnamon Club, author of many cookbooks, and the creator of this incredible dish, which I thought was challenging to make, but it was well worth it. It was delicious. It's an infusion of flavor and spices. Tell us what you're making.
Was it really challenging?
Well, I did the yogurt rice, and actually, I have to admit,
right.
It was my partner. It was Kate that did the sea bass.
Right. Hopefully you'll see this, and maybe it'll feel a lot easier.
Yes, I think it will be. Well, talk us through it. Actually,
Yeah. No, I mean this is a great dish for all you people, all you lovely people who haven't won the golden ticket. This is your trip to Kerala without even having to board a flight. So we've got some sea bass, Kerala spice sea bass wrapped in a banana leaf, and we'll do that with a coconut chutney and some yogurt rice. It's a really traditional dish. But I love the way this works. It's so flexible. It works brilliantly with sea bass, with sea bream, any kind of flat fish you could find, preferably just a flat fillet. We've got that. I think everybody would have received 3 banana shallots, a little few cloves of garlic, about 8-ish curry leaves. I've done the prep for it here. So I've chopped 2 of my banana shallots for the crust, a bit of garlic, and a bit of the curry leaves. I also got some peppercorns. I don't know if everybody received the Kashmiri chilies. My box is...
Vivek, so sorry to interrupt. Charlie wants to say hello.
Oh, hello. Hi, Charlie.
Hi, Vivek. Thank you for joining us tonight. It's so lovely to see you, and so good of you to come and cook with us this evening. And I'm very excited about your dish. It looks absolutely delicious. So
are you cooking with us?
So I'm cooking with you. Yeah, I'm actually
brilliant.
I'm just at the moment chopping up my banana shallots.
Great.
And I love, I think my favorite chili is the Kashmiri chili. So I'm delighted to see that making an appearance.
It's my favorite chili too. Yeah, we've got Kashmiri chili powder. We've also got a whole dried red chili. As I said, we got some curry leaves and we got some mustard seeds. In the kit, you would have had a lime, some ginger, some of this beautiful banana leaf. Well, if you can't find it, I mean, you have it in the box, but just giving it a wipe. And I'm saying all this because if anybody hasn't done it or doesn't have it, you could still do this. You have a bit more garlic, some shallots, 1 banana shallot, and some grated coconut, which we're going to turn into a chutney. And for the yogurt rice, you have some pre-cooked rice, which I take it we all have kind of reheated and then cooled. We got some grated carrots. We got some chopped ginger, some green chilies chopped as well, and some green coriander. I take it we're all good, are we?
Yes, and Vivek, just at this stage, because it's such a visual feast, this particular dish, we are reminding people to post their photographs on Instagram, and the hashtag is Bigham's Banquet.
Well, thanks. Vivek, really important point there, that just on the rice, so people will have wanted to pre-cook that and allow it to cool. So if people haven't done that, probably a good time to do that just this moment.
Absolutely, yeah. We all would also have a pot of yogurt, which we're going to use for the yogurt rice. Also part of the prep, the sea bass fillet that we received, we just sort of seasoned it with a bit of Kashmiri chili powder, a bit of squeeze of lime, and some salt. And that's just been kind of, it's been curing for the last sort of 10, 15 odd minutes. I take it we're all good with that. We shall start off with, let's start off with prepping the rice first. So I think.
Sorry, Vivek, can I just, I hate to interrupt you in full throw,
Not
but
at
just
all.
anyone who's cooking the vegetarian version,
Yeah.
you have to marinate the cauliflower as well. Is that correct? Would you marinate
Correct.
the cauliflower?
Yeah.
You would, yeah.
Yeah. So you'd have sliced it, almost the same thickness of the sea bass fillet, or just as thinly as you possibly can, and you keep this sort of entire cauliflower just thinly sliced. Maybe even score the woody bits, the stem parts, and you just score it slightly, and then you would have seasoned it with the salt and the chili and the lime, and it would just be curing, and it would be in the fridge. It would be nice and cold. So yeah, So I'll start off with a bit for the yogurt rice first. It's a smaller pan. I'm using 2 pans. I mean, it should be quite an easy dish to do. It should be. I mean, and hopefully not a lot of washing up, or even if there is a lot of washing up, dare I say, even if there is a lot of washing up, hopefully the banana leaf is going to help us keep the pan tidy, so we don't spend hours trying to clean up afterwards. A lot of people say that to me. It's like chefs, we don't realize how much washing up we create. We all must also have received this sort of wonderful sunflower oil. If you don't have it, any oil would do. Just a regular vegetable or corn oil is just fine for this. And so I've got my pan kind of hot, and then into that, I'm going to allow this to kind of, just really get quite hot and smoky. I'm going to keep into my rice. I've used some of the grated carrots. I'm going to add a bit of ginger, all of that coriander that I received, and that green chili. I mean, that green chili is, it's just a background flavor, a background sort of spice. So you don't need to worry about it. If you don't like it too hot, it's absolutely fine to sort of omit it or use very little. Into the rice, I'm also going to add a bit of the salt, a little bit of the sugar, and just sort of mix this whole thing through. And into that, I'm also going to mix this sort of lovely yogurt. It's the kind of thing, this is quite a traditional way of eating rice. It keeps you cool in the sort of sultry heat of Kerala. We're going to use this cool, chilled yogurt rice with the carrots and the vegetables, the ginger and everything else. And I'm pretty much mixing this whole thing. It's nice. It's quite, it's really refreshing, and it makes for a wonderful accompaniment to your barbecue. If you had a barbecue going and you had lots of different kinds of meat and fish on, I find that it's really good. I've just mixed up all the carrot and the ginger and the chili and the coriander. It's already tasting so good. Now, the next bit is quite important to have everything to hand. So I'm breaking up this chili. I've got it ready, and the sort of mustard, the sachet of mustard seeds. Everybody's got it. I'm just trying to wonder, do we have an idea of how many people are cooking at the moment?
Well, we think about 500 actually.
Oh, wow, 500 fillets of sea bass. Brilliant. Okay, so I've taken out the mustard seeds from the sachet. I'm going to go first with the chilies and the mustard seeds, and then the curry leaves. And it's as quick as that. It really is quite simple and quite quick, like so. You just mix this. The chilies, burning the chilies actually takes away all the heat from it, and all you're left with is the smokiness and a wonderful flavor, the nuttiness of the mustard seeds and the crisp sort of herbiness of the curry leaves, all of that gone in. And it's quite simply easy as that. Our yogurt rice is done. I'm going to put this on the side, and I'm not sure. I hope everybody is able to see this. It's there, and you can serve it either like this, just as it is, or serve it slightly cooled down.
Yeah, but Vivek, I was very proud of my yogurt rice, and I posted a photograph on Instagram for anyone.
Right, did you? Amazing. I must go up and look at all the wonderful stuff coming together.
It was delicious.
Right, so
I enjoyed making it.
Let's moving on to the coconut chutney. I've got the one banana shallot and a couple of cloves of garlic into the coconut, the grated coconut, some Kashmiri chili, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of sugar. Just all of this. I mean, if mangoes were in season, you could put mangoes in. A little bit of oil. It's quite good in there. I'm going to use this NutriBullet. It's quite good for this sort of stuff. I'm going to put the shallots and the garlic in here. The desiccated, the grated sort of coconut going in, along with the chilies, the salt, the sugar, all of that stuff. Again, you could make this ahead of time, or you could just sort of simply whiz it up like we're about to do. It's very simple again. And again, if it doesn't have to be with this dish, you could make this for any occasion, for any kind of a meal. But they're a traditional accompaniment to rice pancakes for breakfast as well, with sambar and stuff like that. It's really, really good. So we've got all of that mixed in, a little bit of oil, and depending on how strong your blender is, perhaps a bit of water too wouldn't go amiss. But you don't have to add water if you didn't want to. It just helps the blender slightly. So we put that all in, and I'm just going to take it away from the thing. So I'm going to let that blend, and I've taken it away so that hopefully it's not too noisy. I'll use a little bit more oil and a little bit more of the water just to help it blend. There we go. Did anybody give this a go earlier?
Vivek, I was concentrating on the wine pairing at this stage, because it's always a challenge to find that just the right synergy of flavors when you're pairing a wine with a dish like this, which has so much going on in explosive flavors in your mouth. So at this stage, I was opening bottles and sniffing them.
And it's easy and quick as that, really. You know, we got a jar full of chutney. You could use it immediately, or you could, you know, keep it in the fridge. It'll keep really well for a couple of days. Nothing goes wrong to it. Just gonna do a little taste. Wow. I hope everybody else is saying wow when they give this a go. And it's really the consistency. In terms of a consistency, it doesn't have to be too fine, but just being spoonable like this is wonderful. It really is good. So we've got the chutney done and the yogurt rice done. Then we come on to the crust for the fish. And what I've got here is 2 banana shallots, which have been finely chopped. And I've got a couple of cloves of garlic and about 4 curry leaves, which I've shredded. And all of that sort of fish is, the fish is sort of, you know, curing in its own. I'm also going to just gently crack the peppercorns. Now you don't want it too fine. You want them just barely cracked, because that mouthfeel, that texture is incredible. You want that bite into your peppercorns. So I'm going to, you have about 4 peppercorns in your pack. And with that, we are going to use a little bit of Kashmiri chilies again. And the thing about Kashmiri chilies is, I mean, you could use any kind of chili you have. If you didn't have chilies in your, the Kashmiri chili in your cupboard, you could very well use just smoked paprika would work. I'm going to use a little bit of, again, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of the salt. I'm going to use this oil to kind of make this oil and the vinegar together is going to make a really, we got some white wine vinegar here. We're using a bit of that. And what you want to do is you want to mix this whole thing through. And you've got this wonderful salsa that, again, you know, it sits really well with any kind of barbecued meat or fish or whatever. It just serves a real refreshing kick to the dish. You could serve it as a salsa on the side, or in case of this particular dish, you use it as a crust for the fish. Just look at that color. It's quite something, isn't it? Beautiful.
Oh, it looks wonderful. And Vivek, you have such a lovely style of cooking. Are you always this calm when you're in the kitchen? I can watch you all night, actually.
Well, I am like that. I am as calm as that. If I have 40 minutes to cook one dish, to be honest with you.
And just a reminder to everyone, if you do have some questions for Vivek, because this is an involved dish, I would say, please put them in the Q&A box. But it looks, I mean, you've made it look all so easy. I feel inadequate for what I said earlier.
These banana leaves are beautiful.
Yeah.
They are already quite pliable and gentle and soft, but if they weren't, one way of getting banana leaves really pliable is to heat them slightly on a pan like so. And they become really, you know, easy to fold and what have you. What I'll do is I'll put the banana leaf down like so. And we're going to put some of this crust down at the bottom. this mix of curry leaves and peppercorn, chilies, shallots, garlic, vinegar, and oil is just the freshest, simplest chutney that you can find. I'm going to put this sea bass onto the crust, and then I'm going to add more of the shallot crust over. So you've got the shallots on both sides of the fish. Is it good so far? So far, so good.
Oh, it looks incredible. I was just thinking, I once went to Kovalam in Kerala, and I was woken up every morning by the fishermen pulling in their nets. It was such an incredible trip, that.
It is, isn't it? I mean, it's one of the most sort of calming, relaxing places that you could go to.
Yeah.
And in Kovalam, but the backwaters everywhere. It's just such wonderful, hospitable people, and really fresh fish and great spice and all of that. So that's what our parcel looks like. And how are we doing for time?
You have about a dozen minutes.
We have about a dozen minutes. Great. I think we've got just about enough to cook and plate this. So once again,
we did a backwater cruise on a sort of canal boat, and you got the lobster fresh for your supper. The man whose canoe came up, and you're absolutely right. Everyone was so gregarious and welcoming, and it's a very, very happy place.
Yeah, and then did the boat driver did they just ask you what do you want, and they either go and get it for you?
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly. And then he said lobster, and I couldn't resist.
Yeah, and he just figures it out. He gets it and grinds some paste and cooks it for you in like 20 minutes.
Yeah,
and you got the most amazing.
Yeah, and we saw the sun go down and the moon rise, and it was
exactly. I mean, it's just a real magical time.
Yeah.
So a little bit of oil onto the pan, and you want to get the pan sort of kind of hot, and always the sides with the joints and the fold to go first. Great. So we want to cook this sort of 3 or 4 minutes either side, which should still keep us well within our dozen odd minutes. Right. So all of that, the salsa done, the chutney done, the yogurt rice ready. Let's just find a couple of things to plate them on. Well, I think I have followed the recipe. If I've kind of moved around with the steps and so on, I hope people will forgive me, and it's all reasonably easy to follow so far.
No, I'm sure
there's very little else to do now. Then just wait for this to cook.
Tell us a little bit about your inspiration for this dish and why you chose it.
Sorry, could you repeat the question again?
Yeah, I mean, tell us a little bit about the inspiration for this particular dish and why you chose it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that's more creating or recreating a memory and recreating an experience that one may have had while you're on holiday or whatever. I find the style of cooking so healthy, so quick, so simple, and yet the flavors so layered and so complex.
Yeah.
It's just it's not something that I have invented. I haven't. I can't take no credit for it. It's a very traditional way of cooking back in Kerala. But the dish works so well with this beautiful fish that is available to us in this country.
Yeah.
So that's really
I think what I love about it, and I like about it, is cook along, is it's a dish that you wouldn't perhaps attempt yourself at home. And especially as we're coming into autumn, it just reminds you of summer, doesn't it? It's such a visual feast. And we had great fun preparing this and enjoying it.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's not something that comes to mind. I mean, again, I find this kind of a dish really good to entertain with. If you had, if you had a dinner party planned and stuff, you can do this stuff beforehand, overnight or night before. If you were making this beforehand, you would want to reduce the amount of the vinegar that you use in the crust, because acid tends to sort of cook the fish before it actually hits the pan. So you don't want too much of that. But otherwise, it's the kind of thing that is so easy to recreate. And so, it kind of, you've done all the hard work, you've done all the messy bits, and then, you're simply putting it in the oven or cooking it on a pan, and, it's just like so. So let's turn that around. And again, a lot of, of course, if you had your pan really hot, there's a danger you think, oh my God, my leaf, my banana leaf is burning, and before even before the fish can cook and so on. But with something like this, it really does keep the fish incredibly moist. And it keeps all the flavors and just the intensity of it, the freshness, the complexity is quite something else. It's just, and I hope everybody who's trying this today, all the 500 or 300 odd people that you're cooking, I hope you can feel my love for this dish, as well as enjoy the flavors of this. And I hope Charlie can tell us how his is coming along.
Pretty well. I'm just catching up. I got a bit behind on the rice, but I've come back to that, and that's looking good. Isn't it just so beautiful cooking fish in a banana leaf? It is, isn't it? It looks fantastic. And I know also that, as you say, it keeps all the sort of the flavor in as well. I think it's just a lovely way to cook it. It's a lovely way to cook fish, especially.
Exactly that. Yeah. I mean, wrapping a piece, seasoning the fish and wrapping it in banana leaf and cooking is not something that we just find in Kerala. Also in Bengal, where I grew up, in Calcutta or close to Calcutta, there is a whole range of fish dishes that are either cooked on a griddle or a pan, or steamed, even wrapped in banana leaf.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
I'm very lucky with that. I've actually got Ping helping me out as my assistant.
Brilliant.
Otherwise, I'd have definitely crashed into full disaster by now.
Well, look,
it's looking pretty good.
I don't know. Can everybody see mine? I mean, looks pretty awesome. I mean, and the smells. I mean, this is the kind of thing we can't really. You can't see what it smells like. We don't have smelly vision, not yet. But at the moment, I may well have been transported to Kerala. That's how brilliant the kitchen smells. And the reason I was waving my arms about a minute ago is I'm just trying to keep my fire alarm from setting off. So hopefully, so far it's held up and it's doing well. Great. Are there any questions?
Well, we actually have a wine observation here that Hilary is drinking a Greca de Tufo, which is quite a dry wine actually, and Louise is drinking a Savigny Le Bon 2005. Very nice. That will also go well with the other dishes we have. I might talk a little bit about that coming on. Vivek, I was wondering what you're up to now that we're coming out of this pandemic. Are you opening is a sort of establishments overseas and things?
Yeah, I mean, we just delighted to have the restaurants back and open.
Yeah.
And even happier to have loads of punters and lots of guests return as the confidence sort of, comes back. It's brilliant. I mean, the restaurants are busy. In fact, they're busier. It feels a lot busier than it actually is. And that's partly because, none of us can find enough people, certainly not good enough people to work with for love or for money. It's so hard to find passionate people or, just people wanting to do this as a career. So yeah, it does feel harder, but then, like everything else in life, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And therefore this will be no different. And so, we've got all the 4 restaurants back up and running. And I'm opening another restaurant in the Park Hyatt Hotel in Dubai later on in, I'm traveling next month for that. So yeah, really exciting times.
Yeah, that's hugely exciting. And I think there was an article recently about how we should be a little more generous when we go out to eat, going, in the next few months, because it has been challenging for you guys.
Yeah, that's so correct. It's not just about generosity. It's actually just being a little bit more patient than perhaps we might have been in the past. It's just that hospitality in general, and I think it's a whole lot of lots of industries that are experiencing the same, but in terms of manpower and people and what have you. We're finding that it's a reset, and a lot of us are still finding our feet. And therefore, that's such a good point. Just trying to be a little bit kinder.
Yes. I just have a question with those who are cooking the cauliflower. Does it take longer to cook?
It takes, depends upon the thickness that you've sliced it, of course, but it could take slightly longer.
Yeah.
But as long as it's wrapped up properly, it is going to cook in its own steam, as well as, so just give it a bit longer. I cooked the fish for about 6 odd minutes. If you'd like to cook the cauliflower for about 8 or 10, that's fine too.
And we had a question from Maureen. Where can you buy these delicious banana leaves?
They are available in most good Asian stores. So if you don't have an area sort of, or an Asian store next doors, they are available online too, perhaps, somewhere like Red Rickshaw, or they might have it. There might be some other online shops. Sivu perhaps has it. But again, if you can't find banana leaf, it's not the end of the world. You can simply use the crust on top of the fish, put it on a tray, and then cook it under the grill, under your grill, or in the oven about 180 degrees for about 8 or 10 minutes. That should do it.
Had a very pertinent comment from Louise there. Vivek, there is a skills shortage, so give a big shout out to all of the food teachers encouraging next generation to come into hospitality.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, teachers have always been important. Teachers have always been important, but never more than now. And also, I think the wonderful work that chefs at school are doing. I think just getting people, hooked into good food earlier on in life is it goes a long way, and it does. It's not just sustenance, and it's not just good taste, but it could be a thing for the future. I don't know if that's visible. Is that visible enough?
Yes.
There we are. We've got our banana leaf wrapped sea bass, chilled yogurt rice, and a green mango chutney.
Oh, wonderful. And cooked with such panache and style. It's been an enormous privilege. The great Vivek Singh from the Cinnamon Club. I mean, it's
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. And thank you, Charlie, for asking me to get involved. It's been an absolute pleasure for a wonderful cause too.
Well, thank you, Vivek. I mean, what an amazing dish this is.
Incredible.
Thank
Well,
you.
what to pair with it?
Oh,
And
yeah.
I noticed first that we had a Paul has written in to say he found that a dry Vouvray went perfectly with the starters. So thank you, Paul, for agreeing, because that's what one of the options I gave was a dry Chenin from the Noir. I think that's just superb. Now, Vivek's dish is an explosion of flavors as you're eating it at the moment, and it's almost a sort of a challenge to pair wine with spicy food. And we were discussing earlier, perhaps you could actually go off the wine route and pair this with a beer if you wanted to, or a sparkling water.
Whoa. Just to remind you of your job, please, Mr. Lyons. You're a wine critic saying actually a non-wine alternative is a good choice.
Well, that wouldn't be my first. That wouldn't be my first choice.
This is if pressed.
If pressed.
Okay, so cellar's dry, you can.
As a top tip, if you've got a very spicy dish, the two top tips I would say is you could go for like a cool, refreshing, gassy beer. The other one, actually, thinking counterintuitively, is to get a very soft, supple red wine that's quite smooth. It doesn't have a lot of tannins, those flavors that dry out the side of your mouth. They can work very well with spicy dishes. But with Vivek's, because it's so delicate, actually, I think you're looking at a great variety called Riesling. You want something with lots of aromatics. And again, I've been going down to southern hemisphere, to New Zealand. I paired it with a very nice one from Marlborough, and it had all those sort of citrus aromatics. You could also go to the Clare Valley in Australia. What you're really looking for, if you are buying a white Riesling, is you're looking for sort of notes of floral citrus and tropical fruit. And if you're going to an independent wine merchant, that's what you need to ask. Or if you come on the Sunday Times Wine Club, you'll see it in the tasting notes. I think it would also pair well with something from the Alsace, like a Pinot Gris, actually. But you want something that's competing, that's sort of not competing with it. I think that would be very nice. Also, it's a dish where you probably wouldn't want more than 2 or 3 glasses, because there's a lot of flavor going on. So it's
but how big the glass is? Well,
exactly. Yeah. I think we'll be moving on to red soon.
Well, looking forward to that.
This could work quite well as well.
Well, thank you very much indeed. Well, I think we're just getting lovely images. I wonder if we can just share that of what's been going on in the quarry. Charlie, sort of, how was that for you? See this in just one moment. Look at that.
Oh, yes.
I'm just tucking in with Ping at the moment. And I think, and we were just saying, I think, it's so lovely cooking with a banana leaf. If you don't have a banana leaf, Vivek, I assume that using a piece of parchment paper would be okay.
Yeah, that's right. You could cook with parchment paper, but then you'll have to bake it in the oven. You couldn't put it on a pan straight on.
Yeah.
It'll just burn. Tin foil would work just as well, it just tends to stick a little bit. But I mean, as I said, if you didn't have anything, just simply having the crust at the bottom and the top of the fish, and then under a salamander or in the oven, about 8 odd minutes will do the trick.
But it's a lovely combination of flavors, this, Vivek. I mean, it really is. I think it's a masterpiece, and I'm not surprised, coming from a master.
Very kind of you. I'm really pleased. I hope everybody else enjoys it as much. Thank you very much. It's been a right pleasure.
Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us, Vivek. It's been lovely having you here.
Likewise.
Thank you, Vivek. Thank you so much. It was a privilege.
And Charlie, can we just check in on mistake watch? All good so far?
Well,
any of the bingo categories ticked off?
Oh, I can't remember the bingo categories. I'll tell you one mistake: attention to detail, which is never my forte. I failed to de-string my beans on our starter, so I had a slightly stringy mouthful. And then I read the instructions and saw that I should have de-stringed them. And I don't think we'll go into all the errors, because the list is a bit too long. So I'll admit to one small error.
But Charlie, that's an easy mistake to make. It's the sort of thing I would do, actually.
Charlie, thank you very much indeed. We'll be coming back later on. More shout outs coming through. Thank you so much indeed. Happy birthday to Lucas. Lucas, happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
12 today. Cheers, Lucas.
12 years.
Thank you so much for joining. Given that it's your birthday, Lucas, I hope you have your feet up and allowing all those around you to just wait on you and serve up this delicious food. And that they're not in any way just getting you to do the washing up. Maybe you can let us know. If you've got more shout outs, please do get in touch.
But also, Lucas, could you tell us your favorite course? I'd like to know that actually.
Great.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, thank you very much indeed. I think there's more wines coming through.
There is actually. This is great. Thank you for putting these on. Because I'm genuinely extremely interested in this. Dorothy has agreed to help leader tonight. Dorothy, if we had a golden ticket, we could give it to you because that is the sommelier's choice. I.e., it's the most food-friendly wine you can probably have. As I said, Chardonnay with a kick. It has all those sort of savoury characters, and it goes with so many dishes. I think on this particular cook-along, it goes with the starter. You probably could have it with the sea bass. Definitely goes with Theo's coming up. So that's a very good choice. And Matthew says, I have a cheap Audi plonk, and it works for me. Matthew, it's never wise to be snobby with wine, and wines can always surprise you. I was going to recommend a wine in the Sunday Times, but I pulled back because I was a little bit embarrassed by it. For $3.99 the other day, which came from Audi, it was a South African Shiraz. Very good. They have some very, very competitively priced wines. Of course, they do have the benefit of buying in bulk across Europe, but they have some good wines. There's good wines everywhere in this country. We are blessed with some of the most talented wine buyers in Britain. It's hard to buy a bad bottle of wine. What I try and do at the Sunday Times is find interesting wines. And I'm always looking for those wines that punch above their weight in terms of taste and flavour, i.e. you're paying £9, you're getting a £15 bottle of wine. That's what I try to do.
Well, let's stick on just on that thing just for one moment, whilst people are tucking into their fish. So I've got £5 here.
Yes.
If I was to be spending this on a single bottle of wine, what would be your go-to? So on a budget, what's the best bottle of wine I could buy for my
you want something that's pretty safe. So you're looking at. I'm gonna rephrase the question. Where are the
buying 12 more pounds?
Instead of giving specifics, where are the great value places to look for in the world for wine? Okay. First one would be the Languedoc, so your southwest France, below Bordeaux. They make tremendous, red wine there. That's unbelievable value. The second one would be Côte de Rhône. You see Côte de Rhône on the label, always good at the moment. Rioja is reliable and good value. Sherry, and I'm not talking about the sweet sherry that our grandmother used to serve us. I'm talking about dry Fino Amontillado, sort of Manzanilla. That is one of the greatest value wines in the world. The other area I'd look to is Portugal. Okay, so great value wine. So those are the things. So the Languedoc, Côte de Rhône, Rioja, and Portugal. That's where you look for when you got £5. I don't think anyone uses notes at the moment, though, do they?
Here's one I found earlier. Well, thank you very much indeed. If you've got, look, please do tell us what you're drinking, whatever you're drinking. Please do let us know. Please do continue sharing your images, and we'll be coming to those just now, I think. So yes, Bigham's Banquet on Instagram.
Oh, right.
Please use that hashtag. Let's see how we've been going.
Look at
that. Cookery starts early, so prepping for the banquet. That's lovely. Thank you very much indeed. Look at that.
Oh, that's that. Yes, you've done well there, Poppy.
Poppy cocktails, well done. Compliments on the plate as well. This is just going to make us very hungry now.
Yeah, look at this food. Yeah, great. I love what you've done with the lemon wedges and the water. Just give it a little bit of
great stuff.
Yeah.
Bigham's Banquet. The golden ticket.
Yay!
Congratulations.
There it is.
Well done, Storytoria. Other two winners. Do declare yourself. We hope that you're cooking along. Oh, look at that.
Dominic in the kitchen. That looks very good. Very professional, that. I think that, as I said before, it's a wonderful lunch.
What I like about these photos is that I'm sure 30 seconds later, there was nothing on those plates left whatsoever. Great stuff, Millie and Me. That looks pretty decent. Oh,
I have Oh yes, I like that.
Fish prep.
Marination.
Yeah.
Yep.
Lovely. Betsy, thank you very much indeed. That as well, and Tommy's dish, that's nicely charred. Tommy there talking earlier about not wanting to overchar because of her smoke alarm. That looks perfectly done. One off Ginger, thank you. Great
Very
stuff.
good.
Nice work. And there we go. Bingo. Lending a helping hand. Oven mitt. Turning into dog chew. Perfect.
That'll get lots of likes.
Great stuff. So please do continue to tag Bigham's Banquet on Instagram. We'll be coming to more of those later on. But also to say the bingo continues. So people have already been posting. That's a tick. Pets involved in action. Tick. Golden ticket. Tick. This is going very well indeed. Please do continue to let us know how you're getting on with these, and we'll be ticking off ticking them off as we go through. Also, do continue to let us know your shout outs. Shout out to Abby and Ali, who also say hello to Caroline McHale and family. Hope the cooking's going well. Shout out to Hilary and Terry, cooking along, having just celebrated their wedding anniversary in Cornwall. Hilary and Terry, congratulations on your wedding anniversary. Helen enjoying a nice glass of Thames water.
Oh, well, that's fair enough, isn't it? And Vicky in Yorkshire's having a G&T.
This is, are you allowed a G&T? Is that okay?
I mean, there's nothing better than when you take that first sip of a G&T and you get the sort of the citrus and it could be the world's most refreshing drink. Just for those in Cornwall, it's a very good wine producer. They're Camel Valley Bobs. I wonder if they're having some Camel Valley. Okay, great stuff. Eddie and Maggie also saying a shout out to our friends Hugh and Ellen, cooking in both worlds, cooking this in Glasgow. No disasters yet. Well, Eddie and Maggie, it's still time. But that's great to hear. Will, lovely question there. Non-alcoholic drinks. Where do you start? So much going on now. Yes, I know. And I have to say on this, I love sparkling water. That's very boring though, isn't it? But the beer has stolen a march. There are some unbelievably good craft beers at the moment that are, so I would be looking to that. Otherwise, there aren't. Wine is struggling a little on the non-alcohol. There's some very good low alcohol wines, but the actual I haven't really found anything that interesting. So I feel confident.
Why is that, Will? Is that coming? Because you're absolutely right. Beer stolen a march. Is wine on the way?
Well,
or is it just...
I have to say I do a non-alcoholic column every January, and it's the column I do that gets the most complaints because I think a big problem for the wine industry is their artisanal farmers. They love their product. You know, it's from the land, it's from the sort of sense of place, and they're really not that interested in producing a non-alcoholic wine where you have to extract the alcohol. Whereas the beer industry, you know, it's got a lot of money behind it, and there's a lot of innovation there. And but it's a growing trend that we can see it. I mean, we see it every day in the papers, don't we? I keep a bingo on how many articles there are not to drink.
The time when it comes to more than one column a year on non-alcoholic wine, then we'll know.
But Fortnum & Mason's do a nice sparkling tea actually, which is very nice. Try it. It's good. It would be good for the cook along tonight, actually.
Lovely, great stuff. So pop on to Fortnum & Mason's. Other supermarkets are available.
Yeah.
You promised at the beginning, Will, to bang on about Chefs in Schools.
Yes, I will actually. And you know, before we move on to the crowd pleasing main, let's have a reminder about why we're all here today to support Chefs in Schools. You can't fix everything with school food, but Chefs in Schools know it's certainly a good place to start. First of all, for some children, their free school meal can be the only food they eat each day. Okay, I just want to repeat that. Their free school meal can be the only food they eat each day. That's quite, that is a very sobering statistic. And we want to make sure, obviously, it's a good meal. Second of all, every day, school dining halls have an incredible opportunity to deliver food education to children by serving up interesting, nutritious, and tasty food. Plus, the research is clear. When schools improve their food, attainment increases, behavior improves, pupils' health is boosted, and obesity rates fall. And finally, if the food is sourced ethically and sustainably, so the environment benefits too. It's a win-win. They really are a wonderful charity, so please do support them. You'll see a link to donate in the chat. Just back to Rich quickly.
Well, thank you very much indeed. Well, let's just remind you. Well, firstly, if you haven't come across Chefs in Schools before, you could take a moment now, or come back to them after today's cook along. But we really do encourage you to have a look at their great work, and please do donate if you are able. For tonight, a reminder about how you can get involved. If you have questions at any point, please use that Zoom Q&A feature. It might be questions about the food, it might be questions for the chefs, it might be vehement disagreement with the professions on wine from Will. I think that's perfectly allowed. Zoom Q&A for that. But again, just to be sharing your images on Instagram, #Bigham's Banquet. Please do continue to do that. Lovely to see those images. Well, I think our next chef is ready and raring to go.
Well, I don't know if you were like me, but you spend hours preparing, or minutes preparing these dishes, and then you gobble them up really quickly. So we're leaving the southern shores of India and we're going back to Europe, to the great Theo Randall. Theo, how are you? Who obviously made his name at the River Cafe. Theo, how are you tonight?
I'm very well. Thank you.
Very good to see you.
Really good to see you. It's I think the last time we were cooking together, or you were cooking in my kitchen, and I set off my smoke alarm with that steak. We're having that delicious glass of Brunello di Montalcino. So
we were, and we were cooking with champagne, weren't we? That was
another one, yeah. So my kitchen. So we're not in my kitchen tonight. We are in Charlie Bingham's test kitchen in Park Royal. And I have to say, it's a very nice test kitchen. It's got a beautiful gas stove, which is very nice to cook on. Not a big fan of induction, but well done, Charlie. You put the money into the test kitchen. That's very good. So we're going to be doing a delicious dish. I've got 20 minutes to do this, so we're going to have to go quite fast.
Okay.
But the dish is it's a little bit like, it's a take on saltimbocca, and the idea is, instead of using veal, we're using chicken, and the chicken's hopefully been marinated with some lemon and some thyme, and then we're going to wrap that into some prosciutto di Parma. And then we're going to cook that off in some butter and pop it in the oven and roast it in the oven. And then we've got these wonderful greens. I've got some kale, some spinach, and some rocket. And we're just going to blanch those and make this delicious greens, which is called arbette saltate, which is basically braised greens with a little bit of fennel seed and olive oil. And then we're going to also do some mushrooms. I've got some chestnut mushrooms, which is going to fry off with a little bit of garlic. And then we're going to deglass the pan with the chicken with some port. Now, probably normally would use marsala, but port's very nice. Any kind of sweet wine would do. And then we're just going to finish it up with a little bit of butter, make a lovely glossy sauce. I'm going to slice the chicken, put the arbette saltate on the plate with these mushrooms, and then sauce all over the chicken. So is everyone ready?
Well, I think we'd just like to, just before we start, your inspiration behind it, because I think you wrote it was a crowd pleasing, and it really is. I mean, I'm not just saying this, it was, in terms of taste and flavor, it was my favorite one of the night. But how are you inspired?
Well, it's one of those dishes, as I said, it's saltimbocca. It's one of those things where you're using something like prosciutto di Parma, which is kind of seasoned. It's got all the seasoning in the ham, and then you're cooking it in some butter. There's sage in there, there's thyme in there, and chicken's a brilliant way of cooking because you've got all that flavor. The saltiness comes out from the prosciutto and goes into the chicken. And then you've got the greens and the mushrooms and chicken go so well together. And then you've got these lovely greens as well with the kind of little bit of fennel in there. So, and then you've got the sweet wine sauce. So the kind of inspiration really is probably saltimbocca, which, traditionally anything with prosciutto di Parma, you look at Emilia Romagna, which is one of the great regions of Italy. Not so much for wine, unfortunately, Will. I mean, Lambrusco is the only wine that comes to mind. Romagna, which is not bad, but it really amazing for food. It's the main region where they have Parmesan cheese, balsamic vinegar, and prosciutto di Parma. So 3 very delicious ingredients from Emilia Romagna.
And also, I found with this dish, you get that sort of umami character comes through on the chicken, is it? The sort of the 5th flavor discovered by a Japanese professor in 32, which I think you can describe as almost like you get it in Parmesan cheese and Parma ham, don't you? But it makes pairing with wine very interesting.
Well, exactly, and I think that it's that sort of saltiness in the prosciutto that gives it that flavour. But yeah, absolutely, it's very, very important to have that kind of flavour in food.
And of course, you have this love. Well, who doesn't? Of
Yeah.
the most beautiful country in the world, Italy. How did you first fall in love with it? I mean, everyone has their first moment, don't they, when they go somewhere, and then it just becomes this romantic idea in your head for the rest of your life. Did you have a moment like that?
It stems from a sort of childhood. I mean, you know, we've got lovely holidays to France and Italy, and you know, just going to restaurants. And I remember that first time having spaghetti alla vongole in a restaurant and just loving it. And the fact, you know, waiter said you can hold the clams, and you know, I was a very unfussy kid. I'd literally eat anything. I love food. My mum was a brilliant cook, so I kind of grew up with really, really good food. And going out to eat in restaurants was always a treat and a pleasure. So really, Italian food was sort of came from childhood memories. And then, you know, trained in some great restaurants, and obviously was at the River Cafe for many years, worked at Chez Panisse in California. So all these places are inspired by Italy. And then I go to Italy probably, you know, well, pre-COVID, probably 5-6 times a year, going on wine trips, going to, you know, buy olive oil. So I'm always inspired by Italy. And, you know, it's one of those countries where there's 20 regions in Italy, and each region has something to offer. It's just a brilliant country. For food, it's fantastic. And so, you know, I'm very, very passionate about Italian food and Italian ingredients.
No, I love it. And I think what I love about it in terms of wine is everyone grows wine there. I think it was Hugh Johnson that described trying to understand Italy was trying to map, in terms of wine, trying to map the inside of a beehive. Now,
I've never heard that. But there is 1,000 grape varieties in Italy.
They have, don't they? And it's complicated, you know.
It's
ever changing.
Yeah, and all the regions have their own wine, have their own food. I mean, you know, it's one of those places where you're always going to discover something there, always.
Yeah. Now it's getting late in the evening, and our cook-along guests have been. Well, you know, I think we just need to slow the pace down a little so everyone can catch up. Because it's quite a thing actually to cook along to these amazing recipes, but you do realize how much work goes into them. So if you could, if I may respectfully ask, if you could go just at a gentle pace.
Of course. But I was
just watching. Would appreciate that.
Okay, so I'll start then. Okay, so
yes.
The Cookway has provided an amazing box of ingredients. We have the chicken, which I've hopefully all marinated with thyme and lemon. So that's been marinated with lemon. So I'm just going to take that out. I'm just going to put on a bit of paper, but I'm just going to show you first how to do it if you didn't do it and you're a bit behind. But just get the chicken breast, and there's like what you call like the false fillets on one side. Get the thickest part of the chicken breast, and then just using a knife, just slice and open it up like a book. And then we'll pop that in the dish, and we just put some fresh thyme and some lemon juice all over the chicken. And if you leave that to marinate for like half an hour, what happens is the lemon juice, as you can see the difference in color, it kind of slightly cooks the chicken. And then when it's going to cook in the pan with the butter and the prosciutto, it's going to sort of slightly caramelize. It's going to have a really lovely taste. So what we're going to do is just going to get this, the chicken, and then just pat it lightly on some kitchen paper. I've got some just blue kitchen paper here. And then we're just going to pop the chicken onto some prosciutto. So I've got 4 slices of prosciutto. So just put 2 sage leaves onto those 4 slices of prosciutto, and then season with some black pepper and a little bit of salt. Be careful. If you put too much salt, you know, the prosciutto di Parma has a lot of salt in there. So not too much, just a little bit. So a little bit of salt on one side and the other. And then we're just going to pop that on very carefully onto the prosciutto. So it's nice and neat. Okay, so make sure that's on the plate. And then let's get rid of that. And then what we're going to do, we're just going to roll that up. So I'm going to, using the chicken, just fold it over and then just roll it very loosely. We don't want it to be too tight, almost just like a sausage, okay? And then just give that little squeeze so that prosciutto is all nicely stuck onto the chicken, okay? So that's that bit. So we'll just leave that for a second. And then while that's going on, I'm just going to start off with the mushrooms. So we've got some chestnut mushrooms here, which are delicious mushrooms, really lovely, firm. I mean, they're fantastic. These mushrooms, you can just slice them really, really thinly, put a bit of lemon juice, bit of olive oil, and some shavings of Parmesan, and it is the most delicious thing to eat. Okay, so we're just going to get the mushrooms, cut them in half, and we're going to start slicing them down nice and thin, and we're going to cook them with olive oil. Now, the thing about mushrooms is, the longer you cook them, the more flavor you get. If you sort of cook them very, very quickly and they're very wet, they tend to be quite, I mean, they're mostly water, so they don't have the huge amounts of flavor. So it's good to cook them for as long as you can. So just slice those mushrooms like so. And then we will pop them in with a little bit of olive oil. Now, the herbette saltate is an interesting mixed greens. I mean, it's just so delicious and so much more interesting than just blanching some spinach or Swiss chard or something. Because the fact that you've got that fennel seed in there and the olive oil, and you're kind of frying it, blanching it, and then sort of frying it all together. There's a lot of background noise in the kitchen, isn't there? Okay, so I think it's an ice machine. Okay, so we'll just keep slicing those mushrooms. Got loads of mushrooms here. Off. Okay, so I hope everyone's keeping up. Charlie, hello. How's it going? Are you chopping?
See you there, and thank you for joining us.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Absolutely wonderful, and I'm actually got my mushrooms chopped, so I'm very proud to say that I'm keeping up with you. Okay, and I've got one of my chicken breasts wrapped in Parma ham, but I'm working on the second one at the moment.
Okay, my father asked me to tell you that he loves all your dishes, and he thinks you're doing a thoroughly good job. So well done from him.
Well, that's very nice of your dad. Please say thank you very much indeed.
I will. He's a big fan. Okay, so let's get to the chicken. So we've got the chicken. So that's been marinated with the lemon and the thyme. We've wrapped it in the prosciutto di Parma. Get one of these bits of butter, and we're going to take that over to here. So new camera angle here. I haven't quite got the same setup as Vivek, but we've got 2 camera angles here. And I'm just going to turn the pan on. Get the pan really hot, and pop the butter in. Because what we want to do is we want to kind of get the color onto the prosciutto and the chicken, so you get this lovely flavor, almost like sort of caramelizing it. So pop that in, and this is going to go in the pan. Now this pan has got a plastic handle, but a lot of pans actually can go in the oven even with a plastic handle. Not necessarily under the grill, but certainly in the oven. So don't worry about if we put that into the oven. Now I've preheated the oven to 180 degrees, and we're going to seal the chicken off on one side, then we're going to pop it in the oven and cook it for about 8 minutes. Okay, so when the butter's it's melted, and it's just sort of that stage now, it's all just starting to foam, just about to change color, a little bit kind of slightly nutty taste. We're just going to pop the chicken in and just let that sit in there. Now we're not going to turn it over. And the reason for that is that if we turn it over, it's going to the prosciutto is going to come off. So what we're going to do is we're going to get it sealed on one side, and then I'm going to get a spoon and sort of baste the top of the chicken. So what we'll do is we'll just move around. It smells lovely. You've got that sort of kind of brown butter and the sort of prosciutto. And then you've got all the sage coming out. So sage and butter is one of the great combinations. So just start using the butter to baste the top of the prosciutto. Now this is really important, because what happens with the butter is it's going to kind of cook the prosciutto and the chicken, and you're going to get this lovely flavor going through. If you just put it straight in the oven, it's going to be very dry, and the prosciutto will go kind of hard and a little bit tough. So try and baste it if you can. So just keep doing that. So it's really covering every part of our rolled chicken. And then, you know, that flavor of the lemon will come through as well. It will sort of slightly cut the saltiness of the prosciutto when we eat it. So that, and just keep basting. I'm just going to turn it on a low heat, leave that on the stove for a minute, just on a low heat, just so it really starts to seal. Now, while that's going on, let's do two things at the same time. So here we go. So we just get some olive oil. So a man multitasking, yeah, that's a new thing, isn't it? So a couple of one and a half tablespoons of olive oil. Put that in a pan. And then our sliced chestnut mushrooms go in the pan. Now I've got some garlic, but I put the garlic in a minute because I don't want the garlic to go straight in the pan in the hot oil because it could burn. And there's nothing worse than the taste of burnt garlic. Nothing worse. So give this a mix. Now, a little bit of salt. Now, it's really quite good to, when you cook, is to season as you go along. So a little bit of salt now. So a little bit of salt in with those mushrooms. And then we're going to add a little bit of garlic. So I've got like a clove of garlic here, just chopped. Add the garlic. And then just give those mushrooms a little bit of a shake and a stir, just so they start to wilt down. Now, mushrooms obviously kind of got lots of water in them, so we want to get that water out. And then we're going to get the water out, and then we're going to reduce it down so they become slightly syrupy. You'll have this lovely sort of rich, syrupy flavored mushroom, which is what we want. Now, chicken. Let's look at the chicken. So get a cloth. Chicken's looking good. Get a spoon. And then again, just baste that chicken just so you can, all the butter's on top of that chicken like so. And then we're going to pop that in the oven, 180 degrees for 8 minutes. In it goes. Right, so that's cooking. So just to recap, so we've got the chicken, we've marinated it with lemon and thyme, then we wrapped it in the prosciutto di Parma. We chopped up our mushrooms. We put the mushrooms in with some olive oil, a little bit of garlic, and a little bit of salt. We put the chicken in the pan with butter, and we've sealed the chicken off, and then we've basted the chicken so it's got that lovely butter all over the top of the chicken, and then that's in the oven now for 8 minutes. Okay, right, so mushrooms are cooking. I'm going to add a little bit more olive oil, so let's call that 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and then just give those a little shake so they start to cook nicely. Like so, and then we'll start doing the abete saltate. So pan of water. I'm sorry if I'm going fast. I hope everyone's keeping up. And then let me just find the right gas. So there we go. Turn the water on. Make sure you got salt in the water. So season salt in the water. It's very important. Now this is a good point. So when you're cooking greens, what I'm going to show you is cooking the green. I'm not going to put it into cold water and refresh the green. I'm going to put it into water and just put it into a colander and to just draw out some of the water. It's going to squeeze the water out. If I put it into cold water, what happens is it sort of slightly dilutes the flavor. So something like kale, which is so delicious and so simple, just by blanching it in salted water and then just putting it into the colander, you won't lose that flavor by putting it into cold water and squeezing it all out. So that goes into the water. And we're going to cook that for a couple of minutes because the kale is quite tough. Now, when you do the kale, it's very important to, get rid of those sort of stemmy bits, which are very, very a little bit tough. But kale is fantastically good for you, really good roughage, and cooked this way it's a really nice way of eating it. So just let that cook. Let's go back to our mushrooms. So mushrooms are all starting to wilt down, which is good. And then, as I said, the sauce. Now, we've got this, I'm not going to make the sauce just yet because we've got to cook the chicken, but we've got some port. Now, you could use any kind of sweet wine for this, for the sauce. But, Will, what's your recommendation for this dish?
In terms of the wine?
Yeah.
Well, I actually thought that you want to, so in terms of matching the weight and texture of the wine to the dish, I thought something quite light, actually, medium weight. So I was actually thinking of France first, of Burgundy, but I realized that actually this dish can take a lot of fruit. I thought I like that idea that you've got sort of that, that sort of raspberry cranberry fruit that you get in Pinot Noir in the Southern Hemisphere. So I actually paired this with New Zealand Pinot, and it went very well. But I knew you. Obviously, I've got your latest cookbook. I know your love of Italy, so you can, I think Chianti as a general that has the acidity. I'm talking very broad brush, and we have a question here though about Theo. My husband resists eating kale. What are your tips to make it more appetizing, other than divorce?
Cook this dish is basically the best appetizer. I mean, the thing is with kale, it can be a little bit tough. I mean, the thing about kale is you want to cook it all the way through so it's tender. And it is delicious in soup. I mean, a simple minestrone, which actually is vegan, and that's celery, carrot, onion. Just chop them up, fry them off a little bit of olive oil, cook them so it's really soft, so like sofrito for like 15 minutes. And then add some tomatoes, not too much, like half a tin of tomatoes, reduce that down by half, add some beans, and then get a big pot of water on and blanch a whole load of kale. And blanch the kale for a good like 10 minutes, so it's really, really cooked. And then put that kale into the soup and use the water you blanched the kale in as the stock for the soup. And then bring it to the simmer and cook it gently for like 20 minutes. And then get one of those sort of hand blenders and just blend it halfway so you've got a nice texture of sort of creamy soup and big chunks, and then a good dash of good olive oil, and obviously check the seasoning. But in soup, it is fantastic.
That's a really good tip, actually. And I was thinking, just to go back to your wine question, Brunello de Montalcino would be heavenly with this, isn't it? But you are looking. I think you want a wine that's sort of medium weight, so Nebbiolo, Pinot Noir. You could actually go down to Sicily, the largest island in the Mediterranean, and have something from Etna there on their sort of granite soils, because I think someone was drinking a Greco di Tufo, but you could have one of their really dry reds. That would work well as well. So I'm giving quite broad advice, because on the one hand, I'm saying, I think fruit, it works with fruit. But I think my overall point about this is it has to have acidity, and it will just, but it's such it really is it's one of those dishes that when you put it in your mouth, it makes you feel good, doesn't it? It's I don't want to sort of sound like I'm eulogizing this dish, but I absolutely loved it. And you've got that umami thing. You could pair this with champagne. If it was a champagne, it would be we have a question about it's a question from Christine. What do I think of Cremant? Cremant is unquestionably the best value sparkling wine available now on the British High Street, and the quality has never been higher. And especially Cremant de Loire, I think what's happening there is the climate's just got a little bit warmer. They've got a younger generation of winemakers, and they can really ripen the grapes. But I always say, if you're looking for value, Cremant is fantastic. But this dish would go, if you were inclined to pair it with sparkling wine, you could you could pair it with a champagne that had lots of that, what we call sort of yeasty, brioche, toasty character, like you used to get in the Great Bollinger. Always had that style, because that would work well with the sort of umami character that comes through. But I wrote recently about chicken that it's I think it's Victoria Moore that says in her brilliant food and wine matching book, it's anything goes territory. It really is quite a relaxed, it's whatever you want to pull the cork on or twist the screw cap.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Chianti. I mean, for me, like Chianti, I think everyone's got this impression of Chianti in the sort of straw baskets and being really and not so nice. But I mean, Chianti's come a long way in the last 20 years with people like Paolo De Marchi and his kind of amazing wines. And, like when you taste those wines, they're almost like Pinot Noir-like. They're beautifully fresh and they've got that amazing acidity and fruit, which will go so nicely with this. I mean, it's such good food wine. But another wine that I love, and I think it's kind of underrated, is Valpolicella. I mean, Valpolicella is such a delicious wine.
Yeah, and lots of good primary fruit character.
And incredible value for money. I mean, really fantastic. So, and you could even put a Chardonnay with this. I would have thought, like an oak Chardonnay, something a bit sort of.
Yes, I put that actually, and also, the Gruner Veltliner, but it goes so well.
Yeah, lovely.
But Theo, so I do apologise for the non-drinkers side. I've been wittering on. Can you just recap? I did warn them when they asked me to host, I said, I can wish one about wine all night. Can you just recap what you've been doing for the last minute? Well, I've been banging on about cremon.
Yeah, no problem at all. So basically, I put the kale in. I cooked that for about 3 minutes, and then the kale was in for 3 minutes, and then I took that out. And then I added the rocket, and now I'm adding the spinach. So that goes in. So basically, we're just blanching all these vegetables, all these greens. And we just want to do them separately because they'll cook at different times. I mean, the rocket literally cooks in seconds. The spinach takes about a minute, and the kale takes 3. So just put those all in all separately, and then cook them off. And then when they've all been cooked and they're all sort of soft and wilted, we're going to add them to the colander. Now, don't worry too much if they seem a little bit undercooked. We're going to fry them again in some olive oil, so they will carry on cooking. There'll be some residual moisture in there, so they will cook. So don't worry about it being slightly crunchy. So in it goes. So but the most important thing is not to refresh it in water. That's the key, because you keep all the flavor of the greens. And also, when you're cooking things like vegetables, always put the salt in the water and blanch in there. If you're cooking broccoli, put the salt in the water, leave it in the water, cook the broccoli in. The salt will remain in the water. When you take it out, the broccoli will have the seasoning. Same with all the spinach or any kind of green. So always season your water. It's much better to put salt in the water than put salt on at the end. Okay, so mushrooms are almost ready. I'm just going to check the chicken. I think that's probably going to be not far off. Let's have a look. So that's looking really nice. A kind of sausage of chicken. I'm just going to pop it back another minute or so. But look, can you see that? Just put all those lovely bits from the chicken on top. So just baste it again.
Oh, that looks superb. I'm always amazed how much butter you use in your cooking, Theo.
Oh, that's not true. You make give us a break. I mean, the thing about it is it's the butter that's going to give it the flavor. So it's very important to use that have the butter. But I mean, this kind of dish, you need the bit of the butter to, because it's a chicken breast. It's so there's no natural kind of fat in it. So you need the fat to baste it. Right, let's get this pan off the stove, and then we'll start the herbette saltate. So pop the pan onto our high heat. Can you see that? And then we get some olive oil, and we're just going to get the oil in there. And then I'm just going to fry some fennel seeds. So I've got a few fennel seeds here. So we'll just put the fennel seeds in, which give it a lovely flavor. In they go. And then we're going to get our greens, which are here. So just so you can see. And then just with a spoon, just sort of give them a good squeeze. Get them all that moisture out, okay? As much as you can. There will be some left in there. And then take that over to your board. And then pop it on the chopping board. And then just very roughly, just chop all those greens. So all the blanched rocket, kale, and spinach. And then we just pop that on the board and then just chop that. So we're just breaking down all those sort of fibrous pieces of kale. And
Theo, you've just reminded me with the fennel, there's another wine that you could pair with this. So I don't want to sound too sort of pretentious, but it's Spätburgunder. It's a Pinot Noir from Germany. And that sometimes has that sort of Christmassy, clovey, spicy character. And I was thinking that when I was eating this dish, but I haven't actually tried the pairing. But I think that, by the way, that's also a very good value area. Germany is making some particularly good Pinot Noir, which they call Spätburgunder. They're very good value. They're very good for Christmas because they're that sort of medium-bodied, light, they go well with succulent white meat. And I just want to have a quick shout out to Olivia, who is drinking a Framingham Classic Riesling from New Zealand. So she wins the golden ticket because that is what I paired with Tommy's. Sorry, Vivek's sea bass. Brilliant.
Well, Germany is definitely a region that is a country that's, incredible wines, really great wines. I mean, I can't never pronounce it, but I mean, their Pinot Noir. What's it called?
Spätburgunder.
But yeah, I mean that is incredible. And there's some of those.
In terms of price, it knocks out all of the other countries in the world virtually in terms of value. There's a question also from Olivia: is which wine would you recommend young adults to start appreciating wine without us giving the good stuff? What I do with my little boy is we have wine on the table and we try and eat together as much as we can. And I talk to him about the wine, and I let him have a tiny sip. And I tell him about the producer, where it's from, the great varieties of smell. Very important, I think, to ignite your child's imagination by, you know, putting the food and the wine under their nose, and they can learn the smells of the kitchen, because that will stay with them for years.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you can dilute it with a little bit of.
I had it as a childhood, and you know, I'm now a chef. Having that kind of love of food from your parents is very important. And you know, talking about, you know, while we're all here, you know, school dinners are so important, and a good meal for a child is, I mean, it breaks my heart. It's the most important thing you can give, because that is like, you know, you need food. Simple as that. Okay, oh my God. Right, so I've taken the fat off the chicken. So there's a little bit of fat left in there. Then we're going to pop the port in, and I'm going to pop that on a high heat. So that goes on a high heat.
Sorry, Theo, can I just ask you to recap what you were frying the greens in?
Well, you were chatting away about.
Yes, apologies.
So basically, I blanched the greens. I then put some olive oil and some fennel seed in there, and then I blanched the greens, chopped them up, added them to the fennel seed and the olive oil. I need to season it because it needs salt, so I add a bit more salt and a little bit of black pepper. Oh. And then that's our herbette saltata made. It's all ready to go.
And were you spooning something in, Theo?
So what I was doing is I was just taking out some of the butter. So if you look on here, it's just the top of the butter from the chicken, and we've got all that lovely roasting juices from the chicken in there. And as you can see, all that alcohol from the port's just going off, and then we're just reducing that down. And then we're going to finish off the sauce with a little bit more butter. I know you're blaming me for using too much butter, but anyway, never mind. And then
it was a compliment. It was a term of endearment.
And then all that lovely juice poured back into the pans, because you've got that lovely juice there. And this, I'm just feeling it now. It's just absolutely perfect. It's just kind of, there's a little bit of give in there. So it's nice and juicy. But I'd say 8 minutes at about 118. Yeah, it'll be really nice. Okay, so then we're going to get our board and our chicken ready. So we've got all our ingredients. So let's just finish off the sauce. So the sauce is now reducing down quite a lot. So it's a little bit thicker. So just reduce that down a bit more. Just taste it. Oh my, it tastes amazing. Okay, and then we're going to just check that that lovely herbette saltata is nice and juicy and steaming, and you can really smell the fennel seed in there. And the mushrooms are just kind of like garlicky mushrooms with olive oil. Nothing else you really need to add to that, because you've got all the flavour in with the sauce and the chicken. So that's ready to go. So let's put.
How long should the celiac cook for?
How long should what?
The celeriac.
So sorry, the celeriac. How long should we cook that for?
The celeriac.
So Theo, those using the celeriac rather than the chicken, the veggie option.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. So the celeriac, you should have blanched the celeriac in boiling salted water, and then you should have sealed it off in olive oil on both sides. Almost treat it like a steak, and then roast it in the oven for about pretty much the same time, about 8-10 minutes. So but the point is, when you blanch the celeriac, it should be almost cooked all the way through. So when you do finish it off in the pan, you're kind of getting the color onto the celeriac, and there'll be like a lovely flavor on it. Celeric's the most amazing ingredient. I mean, celeric's got 5 times as much fiber as a potato, and it's incredibly good for you. I absolutely adore celeriac, and you know, you can treat it like a meat. You know, it's one of those things that's fantastic. So just give that a little wiggle with the butter. You've got a lovely, rich, glossy sauce there. So we'll leave that to one side, and then we're going to plate up. So we'll get the chicken. So the chicken is here. I'm just going to slice chicken at a slight angle, and then we've got 3 nice slices of the chicken. Pop that on the plate, like so. Just open up slightly, and then we're going to do a nice, big, generous mound of greens. These greens are so good, just on their own. They're absolutely delicious. And then a spoonful or a tongueful of our lovely mushrooms. And then we're going to finish this dish off with this delicious sauce. There's a little bit of chicken juice left there. Keep that on. Nothing goes to waste. And then get that little stir. And then just pour that lovely juice, that pork juice, all over the chicken. So that chicken becomes really juicy. And you've got that lovely sweet combination of the port with all the chicken juice, and then that salty prosciutto and sage. So there you have my chicken wrapped in prosciutto, chestnut mushrooms, abete saltate. That's it.
Perfect. Oh, thanks, Theo. You went at a very gentle pace, and you've been an absolute star. No,
thank you.
Yeah, pleasure.
Thank you for having me, and I hope we raise lots of money tonight.
Yeah, and I hope everyone at home looks forward to eating this, because it really is a crowd pleaser. Well, we've actually talked at length about wine pairing, but I can just run over those principles again that I think would go really well with this dish. And as I said, it's a bit of a free fall in that it goes well with most styles of wine. But I'd be looking for a red wine that was medium weight. What do I mean by that? Slightly translucent in the glass. And I kept pointing to sort of Pinot Noir. So you could have a Pinot Noir from Germany, which would be a Spätburgunder. You could go to Burgundy, one of the outlying villages like Pernod-Vaugelas or Santenay. But I keep going back to the Southern Hemisphere again. I quite like Pinots from New Zealand and because I think this dish has a lot of fruit as well. And as Theo says, you could also have pair it with Chianti. I could probably go on all night. As a rule of thumb, I was trying to think of wines that you could drink throughout this cook-along. And I keep coming back to that sort of dry Chenin or the Grüne Veltliner. Absolutely superb. But we did have one, and I must point this out. I think it was Abby. Abby says we've paired our dish with espresso martinis. What do you think of that pairing? I think you were taking my advice about the pleasure to be had and everything. But it will certainly wake you up. And actually, I mean, espresso martinis are not sweet, are they? As long as it's not too sweet, probably works okay, I imagine. I don't.
Well, so we've talked a lot about the breadth of this. Well, how possible is it to get it very wrong? So look, if you're going to be a skeptic, are pairings really a thing? Well, is that a legitimate view to express?
I mean, it's almost like it's open. I wrote that down earlier. So my influence on food and wine pairing, I once interviewed a very famous sommelier in Hong Kong who said, look, it's all over talked by you guys in the West, because there are so few great pairings. There are so few great pairings like oysters and champagne, left bank red Bordeaux with beef and lamb. But also there aren't that many clashes. So the traditional school of thought was that, it was never really appropriate to serve wines with food that possess an excess of the four basic flavors. So sweet, salty, sour, and bitter. I think one of the hardest things to pair food with is soup. And my rule of thumb there is go for like a rich Oloroso sherry, a dry sherry, but that's got that sort of amber mahogany color. Baked beans are quite hard as well. And people used to say tomatoes, but I always think with tomatoes, pair it with something like New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, plenty of acidity, but that can be a bit of a shock to your system. And as we were saying to Tommy earlier in the evening, I think as you get older, your palate slightly changes and you crave different things. I prefer chili now. I do crave acidity and wines that revive you. So artichoke and spinach are quite tricky as well.
I'm really looking forward to finding out who's been asking you, what wine do you pair with baked beans? Well, what wine? Charlie, I think we're going to come to you. How was that dish?
Well, here it is. I don't know if you can see. Can you see what I'm? Oh, there we go. That's my effort. I don't know. I don't think it's Theo. I think may have gone. Has he? But thank you very much, Theo. Indeed. I mean, fantastic. I have a confession to make. which is that I did refresh my greens before Theo told me not to, and it's one of the lovely things I think about this evening, and you know, when we did this last year as well, is cooking with these great chefs. You get these little tips, and I think, you know, you think you can cook, you think you know what you're doing, and then you find out you must never do this, and so it's always great. I always come away having learned lots, which is what, you know, part of what this is about. But anyway, it looks absolutely delicious, and I'm going to tuck in now. I'm looking forward to it.
Go on, Charlie. That looks like. Have you got a glass of wine there? Have you?
I have got a, you know, quite an empty glass actually in the background, and I'm not going to admit to what it is, Will, because I'm in our kitchen in Somerset, and I have a secret stash of rather nice wine in our kitchen. And guess what? I went to the cupboard this evening, and the rather nice wine was not there.
What? So somebody pinched it, or?
Well,
or
I think someone might have enjoyed it on another nice food.
Oh well. Well, it's the. I think it's the course we've all been waiting for, isn't it? I don't want to say.
Well, I think a little. We're gonna come to it, but we very much.
I must get out of your wiping. Where are you cooking? Here.
Charlie, we're really pleased you're enjoying that. We'll mute that one off. We'll come back to you later on, Charlie. Thank you very much indeed. And so I think probably, well, a few things to catch up on. But first off, just to remind you that this is all in aid of the fantastic Chefs in School. Over the pandemic, Chefs in School sending out over 600,000 meals to families who are struggling. And now schools are opening. Now schools are back open. They're continuing to campaign as some children are still going without a school lunch. And so with your support tonight, they can reach far more children, continue their campaigning work, and ensure all children have access to good food in schools. Should we have a round of applause for Chefs in Schools? Let's just, Chefs in Schools. Thank you.
I think it's so important.
Thank you for everything you're doing. And again, if you've just come across Chefs in Schools, please do take a look. Please do donate if you can. Should we have another poll? Should we see how people are getting on? It's been a little while since poll. Right. So how's it going so far? What I like about these polls is I can just imagine people mid-mouthful go, oh, blimey, where's just clean my fingers, just get some white. How's it going so far? How is it going? 4 options. Piece of cake, on track, I think. We'll show you these results in a second. I might not have done everything.
I sympathise with that. I mean, I don't know how you can do everything on these cookies.
And who's wondering if it started yet? Maybe still stuck on the espresso martinis. We'll give you a little second more to do that. You were saying, Will, that you cooked Theo's dish. How did you find it when you cooked it?
No, I found it. Well, I found actually that was quite straightforward, really. What surprised me most about that dish was the flavour.
Okay.
And I know that I've cooked with Theo before on a cook along in March, and I was surprised how much butter we put in there. And again, I thought we are using a lot of butter, but he's right, because I obviously everyone cooks a lot of chicken, but that was so succulent, and also the bruschetta gave it that really salty umami flavour, that sort of earthy mushroom, and I just thought it was superb actually. We had 2 of us cooking though. So I wasn't doing everything on my own.
So we presume people are cooking in packs this evening, but if you are cooking on your own, hat off to you, well done. Yeah. Let's close that poll and share results. Let's just see how everyone's getting on. Whoa, there we go. That's pretty impressive. 14% of you, piece of cake, well done you. Or about half on track, excellent, well done. Might not have done everything, about a third. Barely any of you has it started yet, but this evening, it's all about having fun.
Yeah.
So if you started the night, uncorked a bottle of wine, ate some sourdough, and then just kicked back, well, look, that's absolutely fine.
I wonder if there was a few heated words at certain pressure points.
No, surely. But
it's all fun and games. It's all part of the fun of it, isn't it? You know, sort of.
There's still time to get involved. If you've got questions for us, for chefs, about the menus, Q&A feature is there. If you're wanting to share your delights, Bigham's Banquet. And I think we might even be able to look at some more now. So Bigham's Banquet on Instagram. Please do post your creations there. Look at this.
Oh, look at that.
Well
Screenshot.
done. Fantastic.
Oh, that's good.
That fish is looking delightful.
Very good.
Great stuff. Oh, behind the scenes.
Oh, look at this. We should do one actually.
Well, let's do that. And there's the fish wrapping up. Ping doing it. Excellent.
Oh, that's excellent.
Oh, look
Claire.
at that.
No,
That
that's
rice,
really.
that rice.
No,
Oh.
that's really good. Yeah.
Great stuff. That
Yeah,
is. Oh, look at that fish. Delightful. Thank you very much. I like your bowl there. Very nice. I very much like the serving of the chutney, the quenelling. I think there is looking rather fine.
I'd like to see an Instagram of these espresso martinis.
I would like to see that as well. Just to say, cauliflower there. So if you're cooking on the vegetarian options tonight, great stuff. Thank you. A bottle you recognise and recommend here?
Yes, I would. Although not to everyone's taste profile, but a good Gewürz would go well with it. Vivek's sea bass, absolutely.
Excellent. Fiona, well done. That looks pretty wonderful. Copy again. Great stuff. Look at the range.
I'd just like to say on those cooking the sort of vegetable dish. I often find when I go out for a meal, the vegetable dishes are more interesting now.
Well, there we are. Another bottle here. This is the 2005.
My glasses on. That's a Savanilla bone. Yes. What a fan. That's. Did you buy that? I think I tasted that the other day. That's from, if I'm not mistaken, that's from the Co-op, and it's a very, very good wine. No, sorry, it's not. Sorry, apologies, that's not.
Look at this, bingo! One of those categories again. Pets getting involved. That is a delightful apron. Congratulations. I hope all involved are getting suitably involved in the dishes. Look at this.
Oh, look at that. Yeah.
Fantastic. And there we go. So once again, please do continue to post your fantastic dishes on Instagram.
I'm a little upset that mine aren't up there. But you could always find mine on.
We can come. Let's see if we can get back to yours. Please do continue to let us know if you've hit any of our bingo categories. You can do that. You can do that on Instagram or do it through the Q&A. But again, so have you used every pan in the kitchen? And certainly when I had to go at doing Theo's, I certainly ran out of frying pans.
Yeah, that's true, actually. That's why you asked me, wasn't it? Yeah, you do have to have someone, you have to have a hot bowl of washing up liquid so you can just scrub them quite quickly.
You do. So if anyone wants to share behind the scenes pictures of the washing up, it's a critical part of this evening. Please do. Congratulations again to those who've got a golden ticket in their pack. Hope you can look forward to those. We haven't seen any pictures so far of any particular disasters.
No, we haven't actually. I think that's a credit to the ingredients, to the instructions here, which are very comprehensive, I have to say. And the mistakes I made were completely self-inflicted.
I'm afraid, well, there hasn't been anyone else who's volunteered ruining a kitchen appliance in the service of these dishes. So I'm afraid it might be a club of one who's done that.
But we ought to say the chefs have been fantastic explaining and going over your pay. I mean, I'm looking forward to rewatching this actually.
They have. We should actually say we'll come back to this later. But Thomasina. Tommy mentioned at the beginning that if you were joining us last year, you may have realised that her smoke alarm went off, and we had a mild little interesting point, and then we were able to cut simultaneously to someone else who's cooking behind, and people may not realise that there is a chap, Mike, who's cooking along all of these dishes, making sure that if any mishap were to befall anyone, that we can cut straight to another chef. So I think possibly, can we just give a round of applause?
And also, can we get Mike up, our shadow chef?
If Mike is there. Oh,
there's
look.
Mike there.
Mike, can we just, Mike, a round of applause.
Thank you.
the unsung hero of this evening. Mike, how have you found it? How have you been doing?
Yeah, pretty good. Just about managed to keep up. The kitchen's not looking too messy. I've managed to kind of put things into the dishwasher and keep things buried in the sink. So yeah, pretty
Mike,
good.
It looks like a show home. Come on.
It's incredibly.
Yeah, I do live here, but yeah.
Which one did you find the most challenging to prepare?
I'd say, I mean, not really challenging, but the banana leaf Vivek's recipe. It was just most interesting as well for me, just because. Yeah, I wasn't as familiar with it, but I quite liked the process. But yeah, I guess that was less familiar for me. Yeah, it's
What I think has been amazing about this cook along is the variety we've had. Three different, and they've taken us on a culinary journey, haven't they?
Yeah, definitely.
Really
Mike, most importantly, have you had, two things. Have you had a chance to eat anything? And B, do you have a glass, at least, if not in your hand, then about to come into shop?
I did have a beer. I've been drinking this. And I've been eating everything as I go as well. So yeah, I'm pretty full actually already.
Well, there's still more to come. Mike, thank you so much again.
No problem.
I feel we'll probably jinx it now by saying that we haven't had to come to you because of any other mishap. But we'll see. The night is still young.
Yeah,
Mike,
maybe.
thank you very much indeed.
Thanks.
To say to all those cooking along that we may run just a couple of moments beyond our scheduled start time, and this is purely just to give you enough time to savor the dishes. We didn't want to rush through the courses too quickly. But we wanted to give you a moment to save them. So our apologies, we may go slightly beyond that 8:45 cutoff, but we wanted to give you a chance to stop and eat as well as cook. I think we're probably ready now for a spot of something sweet. What do you think?
Yes, well, I was so excited. I tried to get us here a bit early, didn't I? Well, everyone has a separate tummy, don't they, for pudding? So I think
a pudding compartment.
Yeah, this really is a pudding. We're going to be joining. We're going live to Ping, who's been with Charlie all evening. For those of you who don't know, Ping was propelled into a dream come true, I suppose, in the world of cooking after winning MasterChef in 2014. And Ping grew up with amazing food around her and was inspired by her mother's cookery. Her aim is to spread the love of Malaysian food in the UK. We've definitely done that, traveling about all over to promote the cuisine, supper clubs, and her debut book, which you must get, Malaysia. Ping, it's wonderful to have you here with us.
Hi. Well, I've had loads of fun, and I don't remember anyone cooking me 3 courses before. So I feel really lucky that Charlie's cooked me dinner.
Did you have any particular favorites of the 3 we've had?
Oh, I think what is lovely is each course is a different cuisine,
Yes.
a different culture and different influence. And I think each courses have been great. I haven't got any favorite. They've all been lovely. And I love the tips and, the chefs are going through what they do. It's so interesting, I think, for home cooks. Actually, for me too, I always, because I cook with Malaysian cuisine, things that I know, I might not have known. Other chefs might not know because they don't work with the ingredients that much. So it's really interesting to actually hear about the banana leaf. Now, in Malaysia culture, we use banana leaf a lot. It's quite eco. It's kind of like your food wrapper, but it also adds fragrance to the food. Now, how Vivek said, kind of like toast it to make it more pliable, or we blanch it in Malaysia and make it more pliable. Those are all like tips that even for chefs, it's quite useful because it's not something that you do in your day-to-day maybe.
Yeah.
So we are going to make today something sweet. Have you got a pudding stomach?
I certainly do, and I have to say it's sweeter. You said it was inspired by Eton Mess or a play on. It's sweeter, isn't it? Which I thought went.
It is, but you could with the pineapples, it's quite sweet. It's also play on Eton Mess and also something called Malaysian pineapple tarts, which we make during Chinese New Year or any celebration. So the pineapple cooked down into this mess, basically. And it's kind of really sweet, but tart at the same time with the lime, and pineapple always have that little sort of tartness into it that works really well in this sweet dessert, I guess.
Ping, can I just put you over to Rich a minute, who has
Ping, just to say, before we come on to your amazing dessert, and this is one of my absolute favorites, just a couple of shout outs before we do. So shout out for Alec and Holly, not arguing as much as last year. Thank you very much. Team Mank as well, love no. Thank you indeed very much. A big hello from Rory and everyone else at Bella Zoo Ingredient Company, your fellow chefs in school supporters. Hello everyone at Bella Zoo. And Claire and Dee saying whether there's anyone in Wimborne in Dorset who can pop round to help them do the washing up. So if you're washing up SOS service in Wimborne, you can pop round there. And Michelle also saying that her 2 border terrorists are loving the smells in the kitchen. Great to hear that pets are getting involved. And lastly, lovely comment through from Matthew Swan saying, I'm an assistant head in the area of high social deprivation. And I know just how important quality school meals are to children, help mentally, academically, and emotionally. Chefs in School, such an important charity for so many reasons. Shout outs done. Please do keep on keeping sending those through. Ping, we're going to come back over to you for a wonderful dessert. Ping.
So guys, my kids always say when they're full, they're like, my food is up to here, mummy, but I have got pudding stomach, so it's not up to here yet. So they always have pudding stomach, but this is a great dessert to finish off. One, it can be made in advance. And also, secondly, you can also make these meringues yourself or shop bought. So it's just as nice. Let's go through the ingredients that you have. So it's the last one tonight. So you should have some meringues. You can buy such lovely meringues now in your supermarket. But if you feel like you want to actually, Bake Off is on at the moment. So if you want to kind of channel your inner baker, please make the meringues yourself. Feel free. We also have some fresh pineapples here. And we've got this lovely lemongrass. They are my favorite ingredient, lemongrass. This my favorite, so much so that I put them at the cover of my book. They're really versatile. They're great in savory, and they're also great in sweet. So with the pineapples, I just chop them into chunks. Doesn't need to be too exact. We're going to just cook them down, and half a lime. Now, if you're making the dessert for 4, you may need another half of this. So we're gonna taste it as we go along. We also have some brown sugar. In Malaysia, we use this thing called gula melaka, which is a dark palm sugar, really kind of caramelly, fragrant. You can buy it in this country, and it comes in blocks. It tastes delicious, but for ease of use, you can use brown sugar, which we have today. And the beautiful star anise. I love the fact that we've been sent all these ingredients, so you don't actually have to source them. So that makes life a bit easier. So a bit star anise. So these are all going to add spice and warmth to your compote. And really simple ingredients, just basically putting them together. The first thing we're going to do and we're going to have double cream and also coconut milk here. And that's it. Not that many ingredients, but a really, really brilliant dessert. So we're going to start by bashing our lemongrass. Lemongrass is delicious to really kind of release their loveliness. We're going to bash it slightly. You can use anything that you have that are slightly heavy. I've got something here. You can use a bottle or a can if you have, or wine bottles. I'm sure all of you had a wine bottle at home at this point. So you just want to gently bash them like that, so that they kind of slight shredding. That will release their fragrance. Give it a little bit of a bash at the bottom, which is quite hard. They're quite fibrous. This is to actually release its flavor. Now, in Malaysia, we actually use lemongrass as a brush. We kind of tie it together and to make it like a brush where when we're doing barbecue, especially satay, we dip them in coconut milk and we start brushing the meat with the lemongrass brush. Not only that it's more eco, it's also adding flavor to your meat. So next barbecue season come along, you want to start brushing your meat and adding more flavor to it. Make yourself some lemongrass brush. I love the smell of this. I use it a lot for hot baths as well. If you have a really stressful day, bash some lemongrass and add it to your hot bath along with kaffir lime leaves. You smell like a goddess or god, whichever you want. So first thing, we're gonna bash them, and then we're gonna grab a saucepan and we're gonna put the lemongrass in there, the brown sugar.
Pig, we just have a question from Adam, who's lost his lime. Can he use lemon?
Can he use lemon? Yes, you
Instead
can.
of lime,
You can
you
use
can.
lemon, yes. Just add it a little bit at a time. You can always taste it because sometimes lemon is larger than a lime. So it might add too much acidity to it, but we'll taste it, okay? So we're gonna put all the chopped in here, chopped pineapple. And what we want to do is to then add a lime on here. So if you don't have a juicer, what you could do is just stick a fork in and then use your palm and just twist, okay? Twist and squeeze at the same time. That will just release the juice. Don't add the whole of the half lemon in, depending how big it is, just most of it, just not all of it. We'll just taste a little bit. Now, depending on the size of your lime as well, you might want to add more later. We shall see. So we're gonna put that on the hob and just let it cook down and simmer. And the sugar will start to melt. And then the pineapple, what it does is with the heat, is it started to cook in the sugar and the spices, making it such a warming compote. Now this can be done in advance and keep in the fridge. You can also make double batches if you wanted to, or triple, because it's really nice with yogurt in the morning with your granola as well. So it can act as a dessert, or also you can act as breakfast.
I think that's a really good tip, because I actually prepared this in the morning, straight after breakfast with my little
I know,
one.
it's such a lovely kind of tropical feel to it.
And then you can look forward to it all day.
I know, and the smell as well. The smell that comes from the kitchen, from the lime, from lemongrass, it just adds a bit of like a touch of holiday. I know a lot of us can't go away this year, but that hopefully gives a bit of warmth to your kitchen.
I agree.
Here we've got some desiccated coconut. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dry toast them in on the hob. So no oil, nothing. We're just gonna dry toast them. The thing about desiccated coconut is you start dry toasting them and then nothing happens. Nothing happens, and then bam, it's burned. So you need to keep an eye on it. So just move them around a little bit and then just keep an eye on them. Maybe if you are doing too much in your kitchen, just keep them on low and start moving them around from time to time. And you'll find that you think that nothing is happening for a while. It's normal, don't worry. You're not doing anything wrong, okay? So just give this a stir from time to time. And what we're gonna do then, meringues are done, so you don't have to worry about it. Maybe break it up in a bit. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do our cream. Now, the first time I tried Eton mess, it is such a simple dessert, but it's a crowd pleaser. Everybody loves Eton mess. I also love the story. Meringues, cream, berries. I mean, it's just a perfect match made in heaven. Sweet meringue, tart berries, and a bit of cream. So I've taken that idea and I have kind of worked through the flavors that I know and love, which is pineapple, star anise, and lemongrass, which we're using today. And we're gonna add a little touch of coconut milk into the cream to even pick out the coconut, the toasted coconut that we're going to use later. So what we're gonna do is just gonna put the cream here. Now, I'm using about 100 grams here. Now, although I've just poured the entire can in there, there is a saying in Malaysia when I used to ask my mom when I started to cook. I didn't know how to cook till I was 21, 22. I don't even know how to boil an egg. I came here for university and I just had to learn. So I used to call her.
Yeah. I can't believe that.
I know, I had to survive. So. And I don't want bad food, so I have to learn. And I remember calling her the first time and I was like, okay, how do I make, this is getting brown, starting to brown on the edges, so just move them around the pan a little bit. I started to ask her what I should do, and she was no help. So she said to me, agak-agak, which is in Malaysian is guess. Just guess, you know, because Malaysians, the way they cook, especially mothers, they don't measure. My mom never actually measure anything. She just does it by taste, by by the look of it. But I know it's not helpful to those of us that don't know how to cook, or especially something that is not, their cuisine, but that's how Malaysians cook. So I had to learn how to cook by agak-agaking. So when I first wrote my book, and I had to measure everything, that was really hard for me. Really, really hard for me. But now I measure everything.
It's music to our ears, because we're all probably a little guesstimates, aren't we, really?
Yeah, I think you can do that with savory fruit, not so much with baking, because that's why I am a terrible baker. When someone calls for like 100 grams of flour, I'll probably tip it in like 150 grams and hope for the best. So I'm the worst baker in the world, because I don't cook. I actually cook instinctively.
I always get told off because I put more than a splash of wine in. I sometimes soak it in wine, which is probably too much. But
well, like me putting talking about wine. So we put the sugar and the star anise and the lemongrass there. Yes, what you could do if you have it at home, it's a splash of rum.
Yes, that's a very good.
Isn't this a good idea?
Yeah, that would be.
It picks up, like, dark rum works really well. Coconut rum, works really well as well. Spice rum or light coconut rum works really well. So we're just gonna taste.
We're going through this great rum revival as well. I mean, there's lots of high quality rums out there. Pour yourself a glass.
So this is supposed to be quite syrupy. The pineapple is still holding its shape, and also it's supposed to be sweet, but with a touch of tartness to it. So if it's too sweet, just loosen it with a bit of lime juice. What we're gonna do is we're just going to soft whip the cream and the coconut milk. Before I go any further, everyone okay? Everyone managed to keep
everyone up? Okay? Well, let us know. I was just going to add, when I was pairing this with wine, it's slightly sweeter than an Eton mess, so I think it can take on a full-blown pudding wine. I think what I would be looking at. Have you ever had Tokai from Hungary, which has lots of sugar but lovely acidity and a sort of slight apricot marmalade character? And I thought that would be a wonderful.
You know what? You've got to send some over, because I can't.
I was thinking that.
Imaginative thing is not. I can't imagine it. I have to like physically taste it. So the consistency of this cream, we are going for like a soft whipped. We don't want to over whip it. We want it to be just spoonable. Spoonable? Is it a word? You know what I mean. So we're just gonna.
What happens if you do over whip it? Just asking for a friend.
So if you do over whip it, it depends how far you over whip it. If you over whip it and it looks a bit like butter and the buttermilk has split, then just continue whipping it and make butter and separate the buttermilk and marinate your chicken in it and deep fry it. That's what I'll do. But if you slightly over whipped it, I normally just add a little bit more cream in there and just like fold it through. Hopefully that normally that works for me.
Well, that's exactly what we did.
So again, cream is like you whip it and nothing happens for a while and then it goes. So I'm just gonna show you the consistency. This is done. I'm just gonna show you the consistency. See, it's still kind of, you can spoon it quite easily, okay? So that's the consistency we're looking for. Then it's just assembling job. Now, for timing purposes, if you've done your compote in next time in advance, then I would actually advise you to keep this in the fridge so that it doesn't melt the cream when we actually spoon over. I'm just gonna put this in a pan of cold water just to actually cool it down. Bear with me 1 second. So you can actually fill a bowl of water with cold water and you just sit the pan on top just to actually cool down a bit. This in here. So just want to show you the pineapple. It's still holding its shape and it's quite syrupy. So they're really good in yogurt. Really, really good. So if you make this in advance, do chill them in the fridge beforehand. Just gonna sit this in the cold water for a bit. So here you can actually make it pretty. Find your best wine glass or your cut glass and then start building that layer. So this is here. We've got some meringue here. I'm just going to break them into bite-sized pieces. Again, it doesn't need to be exact.
I was just thinking as well, ice wine would be very nice with this, especially with the meringue.
I love ice wine.
Yeah, you know, and you have that wonderful burst of acidity, and people are going to get bored of it. I keep going on about acidity, but that's what you need with food because it revives.
I know.
That would be so good with this, actually. And you get ice wine from Germany and Niagara in Canada, where they have the Great Ice Wine Festival, which is coming up in January. I always feel sorry for the ice wine pickers. It has to be sort of minus, 15, I think, at least. And they get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to pick the grapes, the coldest time of the day.
I thought that you say they get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to drink the wine. I said, I'm up for that.
Well, they probably have a few nips just to sort of see them through the horrendous experience of picking those grapes.
So imagine this is cool down, guys. I would actually just look what I do and maybe let your pineapples cool down a little bit before doing this. So I'm just gonna layer a little bit of pineapple and its syrup at the bottom, like so. Now, if you want to do this, I would say if you're doing for another, in a future dinner party, try to maybe do them, layer them closer to the time you want to eat it. You don't want the meringue to be too soft. So be generous with the meringue.
Top tip.
And then top it with cream. And then let it kind of like drop and spoon over it like that. Layer with more pineapple and let those syrup really drip into the cream as well. So, and then more meringues. More cream.
I'm salivating here.
I love cream that are this consistency because they're always really nice to eat. Doesn't feel claggy like you're not eating like butter and over whipped cream. That's the worst thing. So I always try to actually, depending on how big the glass, don't try to, kind of build it in a goblet. One, it's too big a dessert. Secondly, I always try to use smaller glasses so that it goes to the top like that. Maybe a little bit more. And what then we do is to get that toasted coconut that we have, which is like the brown, and then just sprinkle it on top. Again, this toasted coconut can be in your granola. So you can do the exact same thing, but with yogurt. And there we are. That's my Malaysian mess. Your pudding for tonight.
Oh,
no, Ping.
Absolutely superb. I mean, we've ended on a high.
Yeah.
I just say those are, well, I will be making those again. I wondered how long you think, how many times you need to do a recipe before you get it just right.
A lot.
A lot. Well, that gives me some heart today.
perfectionist you are, I guess. So the most I tested a recipe is like 8 times, even for like a single dish, because every element has to be right. And also you have to think about the ease for, kind of the consumer. So I will try to use things that either half or a whole one, so that nothing goes to waste, or they can actually, double it up. So you kind of have to think of like what the consumer and what the cook would do, so that they don't waste the ingredients. So a lot of times.
Well, thank you again. It's been an absolute privilege, and I just want to say thank you to everyone who's joined us tonight. All the chefs. We've had some world-class chefs.
Yeah,
we've been on this culinary journey, but more importantly, thank you to you for joining in and cooking along. I hope it's been as enjoyable as it has for us.
Fantastic.
Sitting here watching. And just a quick reminder before we go about why we're here, Chefs in Schools. We've had the message, and the link is in the chat box if you'd like to donate tonight.
Well, thank you very much indeed. So that it is. The cooking is finished. We've got a couple of minutes. We're going to come to Charlie in a moment. And a couple of things just to get your view on. So our final poll for this evening. How did you do? How did you do? 3 options for you this time. Time to clean your fingers and touch your keyboard. 3 options. Naturals, MasterChef, here we come. It might have involved a bit of improvisation, or we were supposed to cook, were we? Which
we did it beforehand.
We stayed in for this. Which of those best fits you? Thank you very much indeed. We're going to close that in just a moment. While you're doing that, just to say, we're also going to post into the chat a very quick little evaluation form where we would love to know how you found this evening. It will only take you a couple of moments, and we'd really welcome your feedback. What have you most enjoyed? What could be even better? So if you do have a moment just to fill in that little form, it'll be in the chat in just a moment. Let's end that poll and share the results. Whoa, look at that. It's a dead heat. Naturals 48%, improvisation 48%. Barely anyone coming to a cook along and then forgetting to cook. Congratulations all. Let's just do the quickest one too. Do we have any more social images? Have people looking at what we've been, let's have a look at what people have been up to.
Oh, look at that.
Go.
Claire.
Theo's dish. The espresso martinis.
There they were. Hey.
More lovely plate again. Chicken. Oh, good.
Oh, that looks good.
There's glass something nice going on there.
Convivial picture. Yeah.
I like the looking into the oven. The mushrooms there looking fantastic. Great stuff. Oh,
cheers.
Another good glass something. Thank you very much. That is looking good. Slice of lemon. Nice idea on the side.
Oh, singing. Singing chef.
Lovely stuff.
Oh,
great.
Brilliant.
Well done, everyone. More lovely food. There we go.
Bingo. Look at that. That's superb.
That is a very nice glass going on. Great stuff. Pets getting involved as well. Do continue to share your creations. Bigham's Banquet on Instagram. Keep that going. I think we should come over to Charlie and to Ping.
Yes.
Charlie.
Well, first of all, what a huge thank you to Ping, and what I've been holding back to taste this delicious pudding because it looks absolutely fantastic. But Ping, it was so lovely watching you create this dish and hearing about you learning to cook at 21.
Yeah.
And isn't that great? Here's one of the great cooks who started
cooking at a late stage, and you cooked me dinner tonight, so I feel really honored.
So absolutely delicious. Thank you, Ping. What a lovely pudding to round off with. And Will and Rich, thank you. You've done a fantastic.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for asking it. I mean,
so
it's been such a fun evening.
A joy.
And obviously, thank you. Most of all, to everybody at home who's joined us. It's been a really fun evening. I've loved cooking. I've learnt lots as always. But I hope everyone has an absolutely fantastic evening, and maybe that this is just the beginning of it.
Charlie, Ping, thank you very much indeed. Well, I think it's a goodbye from us.
It's goodbye. Thank you very much, and thank you for all your wine pairing suggestions. I've learned a lot actually, and just thank you. It's been an incredible night actually.
I think I'm going to go off and have a lemongrass bath now.
I enjoy these cooking.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you.